Cursed by his heterochromatic eyes, the seventh prince of Yua suffered through a lifetime of endless misery. His frail form sank into the icy depths until purple lightning tore the heavens apart. Ning Haiming's fate shifted. Though his breath had ceased, his eyes snapped open. A lifetime of memories surged through his waking mind. Reality crashed back with the sting of drowning. He fought the current, desperately clawing his way onto the shore. A jagged cough proved this was no dream. Staring at his small, childish hands, the impossible truth took hold. He had returned to the past. It seemed even the heavens pitied Ning Haiming, granting him a second chance. Determination burned in his veins as he gripped his fists, until a piercing infant's cry shattered his resolve. The wail echoed right beside him, impossibly clear. Yet he was entirely alone in this desolate, moonlit place. Could this be a phantom consequence of his rebirth? Meanwhile, 100 miles away, a different destiny unfolded. Within Prince Pingan's manor, a newborn's cry pierced the night air. The arrival of a new soul had begun. A healthy princess is born. Such a powerful voice promises a legendary future for this lively little girl. But why so much sorrow? Unbeknownst to all, this tiny infant harbored the spirit of a fully grown woman. Transmigrated into a web novel, Ju Yuji was screaming internally at the absurdity of her new miniature existence. If you knew death awaited you tonight, you'd wail too. She initially thought she'd hit the reincarnation jackpot. Born a noble lady, life should be a dream. But fate had dropped her into a tragic, heart-wrenching novel. A story where the male lead destroys her entire family. Her own father, Prince Pingan, was the ultimate villain. This scumbag father was a monster. Her mother, Liu Ruan, was merely destined to be tragic cannon fodder. Worst of all, her mother and the prince's mistress had both given birth on this very same day. To favor his illegitimate child, her twisted father planned a cruel baby swap to steal her rightful status. The scheme was in motion. A wicked nanny sent by her father was already reaching for the innocent infant. Coarsely, she smothered the baby's breath. In the original plot, this was the moment Ju Yuji's life ended, a mere sacrifice for the lead's drama. Trapped in an impossible difficulty setting, she had to think fast. Utilizing her adult intellect, she feigned death. The nanny, convinced she'd succeeded, tossed her into a basket. Her father never cared for her. To him, she was just trash to be discarded without a second thought. As the nanny turned to leave, Ju Yuji struck. She lunged, pulling the fake princess's hair with all her might. She needed to summon help. But the illegitimate child's whimpers were far too weak to alert anyone nearby. Desperate times called for violence. Ju Yuji delivered a solid punch, making the other baby scream in agony. The wails intensified as Ju Yuji added her own howling chorus. Finally, the maternal instincts of Liu Ruan stirred. Startled from her exhaustion, Liu Ruan gasped. She asked her maid why her child sounded like a speaker. Was that a human voice? The maid dismissed it, claiming the lady was merely hallucinating from the difficult birth. Then, two distinct cries erupted from the shadows. The head maid realized something sinister was happening right now. One birth, yet two voices? A foul plot was unfolding. She ordered the guards to seize the nursery immediately. The panicking nanny was caught red-handed. Ju Yuji's third brother, Ju Qijian, arrived like a vengeful storm. He sent the hag flying with a kick. "Speak, witch! What have you done to my precious sister?" Peering into the cradle, his heart stopped. This wasn't a murder, but a classic, high-stakes baby-swapping scheme. The head maid rushed the double cradle to the princess. Confusion reigned as she presented the two infants. She hadn't even glimpsed the real miss yet. No one knew which baby belonged to the royal bloodline. Ju Qijian dragged the trembling culprit inside, demanding a brutal interrogation for this treasonous act against the crown. Weakened by labor, Liu Ruan struggled to sit. She hadn't even held her daughter before falling into exhaustion. Faced with two identical faces, her heart broke. Which one was her flesh and blood? Suddenly, he arrived. The Prince of Pingan stormed in, masking his failed coup with a facade of paternal concern and worry. He played the doting father perfectly. My lord, someone tried to replace our daughter in the shadows. A fake child was smuggled in to steal her place. The chaos was too great. We cannot distinguish them. Now they look like twins of fate. The prince stared at the babies, a cold guilt gnawing at him. One glance was all he needed to identify his own blood. But the secret he held was far darker. One look at the pink bundle confirmed it. She was his mistress's child. Despite the exposure, he believed he could still weave a web of lies. After all, his wife was notoriously naive. Seating himself, he softly questioned her intuition. If he kept her clouded, he'd claim the impostor as their blood. To his delight, she looked utterly lost while gazing at the infants, hearing one wailing like a banshee. Her maternal heart softened, and she reached out to comfort the child. In a twisted turn of fate, the fake princess seized her finger, instantly quieting down. Ju Yuji's eyes went wide. This was too staged. This convenience was a trap for her mother. Seizing the moment, the Prince of Pingan proclaimed, "Look, Ruan, this child recognizes you. She is surely our daughter." Watching her trashy father's desperate, pathetic act, Ju Yuji's blood boiled. She slapped the impostor's hand away and locked onto her mother's finger tightly. "Who gave you the right to steal my mother?" she screamed internally, her heart blazing with fury. Liu Ran stiffened. Was that a child's voice? Seeing her mother frozen in shock, little Yuji held in her mind. "Choose me, Mom! I'm your real flesh and blood! That one is just a knockoff!" Liu Ran's heart raced. The voice was coming from the tiny infant before her. Was she hearing thoughts? Could this be a divine mother-daughter bond? The prince, noticing her focus shifting to the true heir, barked at the treacherous nanny to divert her attention. "Out with it! Which child is the true princess?" On his signal, the nanny pointed a trembling finger at the child in pink, naming her the heir. Ju Yuji instantly saw through her father's pathetic game and unleashed a mental barrage of savage insults. "You old fox, playing shell games with lives? I see everything from this front row seat to your treachery. I know that baby is the brat you sired with your hidden mistress. You want to replace me? To clear a path for your illegitimate spawn? In your wildest, most pathetic dreams, you absolute scumbag." Liu Ruan heard every stinging word. She stared at the prince, realizing he was deaf to the truth. She had always viewed her husband as a man of honor. Could he truly harbor such darkness? The prince didn't miss a beat, scooping up the fake princess with a show of fatherly affection. "My poor girl, you've suffered. I'll deal with this little monster who tried to hurt you immediately." He prepared to discard Ju Yuji like trash. Liu Ran cried out, "Stop! We cannot act so rashly." Acting in haste is not wise. Her faith was crumbling under the weight of his suspicious urgency. His behavior was too desperate. Jujin chimed in. "Mother is right. We don't know who pulls her strings. We must unmask the mastermind behind this switch." At a sharp glance from the prince, the nanny collapsed, begging for mercy on her knees. "My lords, I was blinded by the sparkle of gold and luxury. I only wanted my granddaughter to escape poverty. I am the only one to blame for this sin. I admit it, I swat them." Yuji watched the scripted lies unfold, orchestrated by her own father. As a mere infant, she was powerless to expose the web of deceit. Was her fate GK? She slumped, defeated. If she was destined to die at birth, perhaps death was a fresh start. Farewell, Mom. Hearing that heartbreaking resignation, Liu Ran felt a spear pierce through her very soul. She faced the prince. "Husband, this woman is too eager to confess. What if she is sacrificing herself? If her granddaughter stays as my child, she wins even in death." The prince, cornered, pivoted his strategy. "A valid point, my love. Let us settle this with a blood paternity test. It's the only way." Ju Yuji's mind exploded with rage at the mention of the test. "Mom, don't fall for this trap." Liu Ran saw her daughter's tiny fists flailing. but the mental voice had vanished into thin air. Confusion flickered through her mind. Then, it clicked. She needed physical contact to hear the truth. She reached out, grasping the tiny hand. Instantly, a torrent of indignant thoughts flooded her mind. The test is rigged! He used alum to force the blood to bond. You'll only test the hag! Heavens, take my father's life as payment. Just let my mother see through this cheater's lies. Throw in his secret lover, too, for good measure. The revelations left Liu Ruan reeling in total shock. Her world was shattering. Just then, the prince ordered a bowl of water to be brought forward. My dear, if this woman claims that child is hers, why not settle this with a blood test? Those cold words shattered the facade of the man Lu Ruyen once loved. The infant's warnings were true. Her husband was a traitor. Her heart turned to ice. Inside, Juji smirked. Welcome to the royal drama. Hearing her baby's inner voice and the Prince of Pingan's cruel suggestion, the illusion was finally gone. Liu Ruan was now certain. Her daughter's thoughts held the truth, while her husband wore a mask. Her warmth vanished. With a gaze of pure frost, she played along with her husband's treacherous game. She signaled her loyal maid, Lu Bi, with a sharp glance. It was time to sabotage the test. The maid understood instantly. With a clever stumble, she sent the wicked nanny crashing to the floor. The tampered water spilled everywhere. The nanny trembled in fear, sensing her luck had finally run out. Panicked, she cried out that someone had pushed her, desperate to hide her failing schemes from them. Liu Ruan's gaze was lethal. Lu Bi stands behind you, and she is my most trusted confidant. She desires the truth more than anyone. Why would she interfere? Lu Bi, fetch a fresh bowl. As the test reset, the prince grew restless. Suddenly, a calm, commanding voice echoed from the entrance. Why bother with such schemes? Ju Jimu, the eldest son, entered the room with regal composure. He bowed gracefully, admitting he had overheard. To him, the paternity test was a flawed deception. Mother, remember your fall into the frozen lake before my sister was even conceived? That frigid illness was fated to pass into your womb, marking the child with a unique condition. Liu Ruan agreed. This was the ultimate proof. Hearing this, Juji finally understood her own fragile state. No wonder I feel like I'm fading away. I want to find this author and settle the score. A tragic start was enough, but a sickly debuff too? This writer is trying to kill me. Are they rushing my end? The Prince of Pingan clutched the illegitimate child, his composure starting to crack. Panic surged, yet he wore a mask of calm. He insisted on the blood test to save time. Summoning a doctor takes too long, he claimed. But Jimu interrupted his father's desperate lie. I've already brought a physician. Let him examine my sister now. The prince was cornered. His son's preparation left him speechless. Every exit was blocked. The prince fell into a tense silence. The swap was impossible now. He frantically plotted how to protect his hidden bloodline from discovery. The doctor gasped. This infant is burning with fever. That single sentence was the final verdict. The real daughter was found. Liu Ruan gathered her precious baby close, her heart aching with worry. The prince watched like a cold stranger. Juji looked up at her mother's tear-streaked face. Don't cry, mother, Juji thought, forcing a tiny smile. I am the protagonist of this story. I won't perish here. Liu Ruan felt a surge of warmth from her child's resilient spirit, yet her husband's betrayal cut deep. Tears fell as she vowed her daughter would survive this. Seeing his defeat, the prince handed the illegitimate child to a bribed maid, hiding his shame. You're right, Ruan. This wicked nanny deserves death for her crimes against our house. Liu Ruan saw through his pathetic act. Her love had withered, replaced by a heart of steel. Death is too easy, she declared. Guards, seize this woman and the illegitimate child immediately. Lock them away. If my daughter suffers, I will tear the mastermind into 1,000 pieces. The threat hung heavy. Little Juji waved her tiny fists, cheering for her mother's fierce resolve. Mom is amazing, Truly a legendary villainess. The prince felt the weight of her words sinking in. Guilt and unease gnawed at his soul. Jimu watched the growing rift between his parents in silence. He wondered what dark secrets remained. Meanwhile, in the seventh prince's chambers, a man jolted awake. Ning Huiming was drenched in a cold sweat, his heart racing with a strange, lingering dread. In his sleep, he felt the chill of death. Yet his body was perfectly healthy upon waking. This time, it wasn't cries, but a ghostly whisper calling out for a mother's love. "Mommy? Who is this? Am I being poisoned, or is this fate reaching out to me?" After that terrifying baby-swapping attempt, Liu Ruyen couldn't bear to let her daughter go, clutching her all night. Her head maid finally whispered a soft plea. "My lady, please rest. Allow me to take the young miss. You've watched over the fifth miss all night without sleep. I fear your health will surely fail you tonight." Gazing at the sleeping babe, she shook her head. "My negligence caused her pain. I cannot rest until I'm watching. I must see her with my own eyes." Just then, little Zhou Yuji blinked awake, met by an ethereal face. She was utterly entranced. "Mommy is a goddess." Seeing the babe awake, the head maid tactfully fetched the doctor. Liu Ruyen noticed her daughter staring unblinkingly, her tiny heart filled with wonder. What could she be thinking? As she caressed a soft cheek, a bright, bubbly voice suddenly resonated within her mind once again, clear and sweet. "Heavens, Mom, you're a literal angel. With looks like those, I'm already wrapped around your finger. You truly are the Empress Ruyen! From rags to riches, villainy to ruin, you've endured it all, yet you've never once looked ugly. No wonder you rule the web novel world." The baby snuggled blissfully into her mother's embrace. "From this moment on, I finally have a mommy of my own." Hearing those sweet telepathic cheers, a tiny smile graced Liu Ruyen's lips. "Little you are my precious baby girl. Your big brothers and I will shield you. And your father," she stiffened. Could a man who dared to swap his own flesh and blood ever truly cherish his youngest daughter? Ever since she entered the prince's manor, he had kept only one concubine from his past days before her. Lord Ju never took another. The kingdom hailed the Prince of Ping-An for his devotion. But it was all lies. If not for little Yu's birth, she'd never have uncovered his hidden, true love. To think she'd been blinded for years, clinging to a facade of affection. Liu Ruyen's heart grew heavy with betrayal. Sensing the shift, little Yuji noticed. She knew Mom was thinking about that scumbag dad. Reaching out with chubby, tiny hands, she tried to capture her attention. That clumsy, adorable reach melted Liu Ruyen's icy grief instantly. A genuine, happy smile finally broke through the darkness. Banishing that man from her thoughts, she nuzzled her darling daughter. Little Yuji's heart swelled with pure, radiant joy. It's a bit embarrassing acting like a literal infant, but being truly treasured by a mother, it's the best feeling ever. Hearing those thoughts, Liu Ruyen realized how starved for love her baby was. She vowed to pour out even more. Pressing a tender kiss onto the baby's soft cheek, she watched as Yuji's tiny face flushed a bright, lovely crimson. Liu Ruyen giggled at the sight. "Is our little Yu getting shy? You're just too precious." But their bonding was interrupted. Her eldest son, Joji Mo, stepped inside. "Mother, I've come to check on you and the little one. How is she?" He studied his sister closely. Her eyes were sparkling and bright, her blank stare at him absolutely heart-melting. She seemed fine. Turning to his mother with a grave expression, he spoke. "Mother, something has been bothering me. I must ask you. You've imprisoned that wicked nanny and barred everyone, even father. And late last night, your servants moved in secret, taking away the bowl used for the blood test. You suspected the water was tainted from the start, didn't you?" Liu Ruyen remained silent, head bowed. Her son had always been precocious, and she knew his sharp mind noticed everything. But how could she explain the miracle of her daughter's inner voice? After a heavy silence, she finally looked up tentatively. Mo, what is your true opinion of your father? Joji Mo's eyes narrowed into sharp, calculating slits at the question. Do you truly wish to know, mother? Remember the naming of the heir? When I stepped aside, having no interest in titles, instantly, rumors flew that my second brother, the concubine's son, would be chosen. It felt suspicious even then, didn't it? Lady Zhang is far too calculating to let such gossip spread. Even with me out of the way, she wouldn't risk it. Then father went before the emperor, swearing that only a son of his official wife would ever inherit his noble legacy. He begged his majesty to name my third brother as heir. The entire court was moved by his supposed devotion. Officials sang his praises, calling the Prince of Ping'an a paragon of loyalty and the perfect son-in-law for our grandfather. His reputation as a doting husband soared, and soon he was no longer just a minor official with no real power. With grandfather's influence, he ascended to the Ministry of Revenue. Everything fell perfectly into place for his own gain. From that day, I knew. Father was never the simple, honest man he pretended to be in front of us all. I questioned you repeatedly about how he truly treated you. Surely you remember my warnings from the past, mother. As memories flooded back, a crushing wave of sorrow hit Liu Ruyen. Her son had been trying to warn her. For far too long, her blind devotion had masked the truth. Sensing her mother's impending sorrow, Juji acted fast. She reached out, cupping her mother's cheeks with tiny hands to pull her back from the edge of despair. That scumbag isn't worth your tears, she babbled. Jujimu, ever observant, noticed his sister's uncanny brilliance immediately. He leaned in, mesmerized. Little Yu seemed to understand everything. She's actually comforting mother, he whispered, smiling. He gently poked her soft cheek. Watching his kind eyes, Juji couldn't help but sigh at the tragic irony. They say narrow-eyed men are the true masterminds. No wonder he knew Dad was trash long ago, she thought. He's the smartest man in this world, yet fate decrees he must die before anyone else. Jujimu froze. A voice echoed in his mind, clear and terrifying. Was his newborn sister actually speaking to him? Before he could process the shock, her inner voice dropped a devastating bombshell that shook his very soul. In the original story, Mother dies soon, poisoned by that scumbag so he can wed his secret mistress. Big Brother investigates her death, but the Emperor sends him on a deadly mission to enemy lands. Ambushed on his return, he barely escapes, but the trauma twists his heart into a dark abyss. He becomes the Emperor's 9,000-year-old eunuch, a monster, seeking power through blood and betrayal. To seize ultimate power, he'd slaughter the innocent, only to be executed, torn apart by 5 horses. Juji's heart ached. She gripped her brother's finger tight, her tiny face filled with an adult's grief. Big bro, you must change. I won't let you fall, she resolved, sighing heavily in her mind. Liu Ruyen noticed the twitch in her son's expression. It was the same shock she felt hearing those thoughts. She realized Jujimu could hear his sister too. With a subtle gaze, she signaled him to remain calm. Looking at her son, her heart shattered. The image of him being torn apart by horses filled her with terror. Jujimu suppressed his trembling. This infant sister, she could see the future. She was a harbinger of destiny. So this is why Mother changed, he realized. Little Yu's power was the key. Could anyone else hear her secrets? He had to be careful. If the wrong person heard this, his sister would be in grave danger. Suddenly, a servant's cry shattered the silence. His lordship the prince has arrived! All 3 of them jumped. Even without telepathy, Jujimu could see the pure venom in Juji's expression. She was cursing their father internally. Ju Shao's voice boomed before he entered. My dear, is our precious little Yu finally awake? Seeing their stiff reactions, he rushed over, wearing the mask of a devoted husband and loving father. I was sick with worry, he lied, eyes fixed on the baby. The thought of her suffering kept me awake. Let me hold her. He shoved his son aside, reaching for the child with greedy, fake affection. Liu Ruyen panicked. If he touched her, would he hear her thoughts? She moved to block him, but failed. The scumbag prince had already snatched the baby up. Her heart hammered against her ribs in sheer terror. Reclaiming the child now would look suspicious. She forced herself to stay still, watching his face for any change. "Why so tense, my love?" he asked smoothly. He pressed a hand to the baby's forehead, feigning concern. "The fever is gone, thank heaven. I was prepared to summon the imperial physicians for her." He frowned slightly as the baby squirmed, clearly repulsed by his touch. Why was she acting so strange? Mother and son exhaled in unison. He hadn't heard. Little Yu's secret was still safe from his clutches. But Juji wasn't done. She refused to let this villain hold her. A wicked glint flashed in her eyes. The prince blinked. Did he just see a mocking smirk on a newborn? Before he could think, it happened. A warm, wet sensation flooded his palms. He stared down in shock. Did she just... Terrified he'd drop her, Ruyen snatched the baby back. "You little rascal! How could you pee on father?" To keep up his act, he forced a strained laugh. "It means she loves her daddy. Truly a blessing." "Look at that! He's actually thanking me for it," Juji giggled internally. Ruyen nearly burst out laughing. She cradled her daughter, ignoring her husband's presence entirely. The scumbag felt the chill, but pressed on. "Anyway, we must settle on a name for her," he said, revealing the true purpose of his visit. Rion's gaze turned cold and distant. "Have you forgotten? We decided this when I was first pregnant. We agreed that if it was a boy, we'd name him after your lineage, but a girl was mine." "Shu if a boy, Yuji if a girl," Jushao stammered, his mask of composure cracking slightly. "My mind is failing me lately," he lied smoothly. "Forgive my neglect. The burdens of state have taken their toll." Little Yuji scoffed inwardly. "You're only busy pining for that tragic first love of yours, Shun Yulan," she mocked. This bad memory had fueled a 10-year grudge against her former fiancé, a bitterness he used to break her. To the world, he played the noble, heartbroken hero, a performance that made the girl's skin crawl with utter disgust. Hearing these chilling truths from her infant, Liu Ruan's heart hardened. A shadow began to dance within her eyes. Veiling her cold fury behind a mask of devotion, she whispered, "Husband, please, your health is my only concern." Yuji kicked her small legs in frustration, certain her mother had fallen for the scumbag's silver-tongued lies once again. "Mom, wake up!" she screamed mentally. "A snake like him only tells the truth when he's a silent portrait on a wall." Jushao took her hand, dripping with false sentiment. "Ruan, everything I do, every sacrifice, it's all for a family's future. As long as you stand by me, no trial is too heavy to bear," he whispered, playing the martyr perfectly. Suddenly, a panicked maid burst in. "My lady, disaster! The servants' quarters in the back are engulfed in a sudden fire." Ruan's blood ran cold. That was where the treacherous nanny and the interloper child were being held. This was no accident. "Was anyone saved?" Ruan demanded, her voice sharp, but Jushao cut her off before the maid could speak a word. "If they perished, then it was fate," he declared coldly. "You are fragile from childbirth. Do not concern yourself with ashes." "I shall handle this personally," he said, turning away. Ruan watched him leave, her gaze turning into icy steel. Who else could orchestrate such a blaze within these guarded walls but the very man who shared her bed? Jujimo, observing the scene from the shadows, saw the calculated treachery even more clearly than his mother did. "Mother, I shall depart as well," he murmured. Fearing his soul was darkening, Ruan reached out to stop him. "Jimo," she called, her voice trembling. "If you seek power in the imperial court, I will clear the path for you." She was willing to steep her own soul in sin if it meant keeping her children's hands pure and white. Jimo paused, a flicker of understanding crossing his face. He knew the depths of the storm brewing in her heart. "Rest easy, mother," he promised. "If I ever climb to those heights, it will only be to strike down an unreachable foe. For now, I have no desire for blood," he added softly, before vanishing. Ruan watched him, a silent vow forming. "I will give you everything," she thought. "I will burn every thorn in your way until the path is smooth." Once they were alone, her trusted headmaid entered, her voice a mere shadow. "The investigation is complete, my lady." The blood test was indeed tampered with, she reported. There was a hidden substance in the water, just as you suspected. "And the fire?" Ruan pressed. "The nanny's corpse was found, but the infant. The child has vanished without a trace." Rage flared in Ruan's eyes, burning away the last of her mercy. Her husband had truly crossed the line. "Since he chooses war, he shall have it," she hissed. The maid looked down at baby Yuji. "Shall we find the girl?" For a fleeting second, a demonic shadow crossed Ruan's face, only to melt away when she met her daughter's innocent gaze. "There is no need," she whispered, her voice honeyed and soft. A gentle smile masked the monster rising within. "She is but a babe, innocent of her parents' sins. Why should we stain ourselves with her blood?" she asked. Yuji's heart swelled with pride. She looked at her mother, her tiny face lit up with pure, unadulterated adoration. But the child failed to see the freezing determination in Ruan's eyes as she looked toward the distant horizon. "My mother is a saint!" Yuji cheered internally. Ruan felt a sharp pang of guilt at her daughter's misplaced praise. "Take the young miss for her nap," Ruan ordered. As soon as the door clicked shut, her warmth evaporated instantly. "Pull the weeds and burn the roots," she commanded the darkness. "Leave no trace of any future threat to remain." Meanwhile, Jimo stood by the smoking ruins of the woodshed. The embers glowed like dying stars in the night. "Seal every exit," he commanded his shadows. "If anyone attempts to flee this residence, follow them to the ends of the earth." "My lord, the lady might wish for you to stay out of this," his guard whispered, wary of the escalation. "Mercy today is a death sentence tomorrow," Jimo replied, his eyes devoid of any warmth. "I must be ruthless. Whatever blood is spilled here, ensure my mother never hears a single whisper of it," he commanded. Then a strange, haunting smile touched his lips. "Tell me, do I truly look like a villain to you?" The guard bowed low, his voice steady. "My lord, you are the very picture of righteousness." Jimo chuckled. "Perhaps I'm a saint after all?" "Mother, forgive me. I've broken my sacred oath." Deep within the imperial palace, the seventh prince, Ning Huiming, was drowning in another soul-shattering nightmare. In the dream, an infinite abyss swallowed him. A spectral voice beckoned him from the shadows. Suddenly, a radiant light flickered. A graceful woman was gently swaying a cradle, whispering to her child. "Even if you adore this glowing pearl, you mustn't chew it while sleeping, my little one. I shouldn't have shown you your aunt's gift." Ning Huiming watched, haunted by the baby's cries. He desperately yearned to know the child's identity. He lunged toward the light, reaching for the cradle. He strained to see the face, but his feet were suddenly frozen by an icy, invisible force. Heavy footsteps echoed behind him as the world began to warp and shift in a violent blur. The scene transformed into the grand hall where he once ruled as the supreme emperor. Before he could react, he was back in his adult form. Then, a cold dagger pierced his chest. Ning Huiming stared at the woman holding the blade. Dressed in mourning, her eyes burned with hatred. "For your hollow ambition, you destroyed Southern Ua and killed my kin. Did you expect my love? Go to hell and answer to my brothers." Ning Huiming was stunned. This felt like a fever dream. He didn't recognize this vengeful beauty. But her next words made his blood run cold. "You thought rebirth gave you total control? You planned for everything. Except for my arrival." Her voice grew muffled as he lost consciousness. The world faded into a crimson haze of pain. He gripped the dagger, shoved the woman away, and stumbled back with a ragged, desperate breath. He looked at the blade in utter disbelief. It was his mother's keepsake, a weapon he knew well. The horror of the vision jolted him awake. He clutched his stomach, gasping in sheer relief. It was only a nightmare. He reached for the dagger beneath his pillow, but its warmth startled him. Was this a simple dream or a dark omen? Rebirth was already shattering his view of reality. As he stood trembling, his head eunuch entered. "Your Highness, Master Mingai has finally returned to court. The Emperor has already summoned the holy man." Ning Huiming looked up, a spark of hope igniting. Perhaps the master had the answers he sought. GK ordered the eunuch to prepare his royal robes. Meanwhile, in a distant corner of the world, the sleeping Zhu Yuji sneezed and woke up. Lu Rian, worried for her daughter's health, frantically tucked the blankets around her sweet little girl. "Did you catch a chill, my love?" Yuji met her mother's gaze, her mind spinning with confusion. "Whoa, that was too close," she thought. What a terrifying dream. I was a literal assassin. I grew up and just ended someone? It was like a movie, and I couldn't even stop. I don't know who he was, but the whole scene felt like a tragic romance novel. Lu Rian laughed at her daughter's dramatic expressions. The child was simply too precious for words. She squeezed her hand. "Did a nightmare scare you?" "Don't worry, sweetie. Dreams are just lies." Back at the palace, Master Mingai approached the gates, his staff clicking against the stone floor. Seeing the prince, the monk bowed. "Amitabha, for the 7th prince to wait here, what troubles you?" Ning Huiming's face lit up. "As expected, I can't hide my heart from your wisdom, Master." He gathered his courage. "Master, I keep dreaming of a girl who does the impossible. Do you believe these visions are destined to become our reality in this life?" Mingai replied, "Highness, existence is a cycle. The seeds of the past must bear fruit today. Dreams come true because the threads of fate have already been woven by the heavens." Those words struck like lightning. He stared at the monk, his heart hammering in his chest. "So fate is set? I will hand my own blade to a woman and let her kill me?" He looked away and bowed stiffly. "Thank you for the guidance, Master, but I reject fate." As he turned, his youthful face twisted into a mask of chilling, predatory ferocity. He gripped his dagger. "Fate is an excuse for the weak. This time, I'm the hunter. Sword in hand, I'll protect this second chance. Anyone blocking my path will face certain death." He recalled the fragments of his vision. He was an adult, meaning the woman must have been that infant, now fully grown. In the dream, she accused him of crushing Southern Yu. Clearly, she shared blood with their royal line. Past memories suggested Southern Yu and Northern Yin were currently negotiating a fragile border peace. I could use these talks to infiltrate the South. A month vanished in a heartbeat. Liu Ruan finished her postpartum recovery, and the residents prepared a lavish full moon feast for Zhu Yuji. "Blessings to your highnesses on the 5th Mrs. 1-month celebration," the nobles cheered. "She's the image of her mother." Cradled in Liu Ruan's arms, Yuji felt far from celebratory. The hollow flattery was exhausting. A sense of dread lingered, as if she'd forgotten a crucial detail, but the memory remained elusive. Suddenly, a booming herald's voice silenced the entire hall. "Her Majesty the Empress has arrived!" Every guest dropped to their knees in a sea of silk. Empress Liu Rukang approached her sister with a warm smile. "Rise, everyone. There's no need for formalities. Today is for my niece. Little Yu, come, let your auntie hold you for a moment." Yuji looked up and was dazzled by her aunt's radiant beauty. Then the truth hit like a thunderbolt. Her heart froze. This was Empress Liu Rukang, her own aunt. And she was destined to die tonight. "Oh God, I forgot. My aunt's execution is only hours away. She's the tragic villainess of the first book." The Liu family was practically a factory for female antagonists. Auntie was the most ruthless of them all. She was the emperor's first love and the harem's shadow queen, securing her son's path to the throne. She'd poisoned rivals with contraceptive tea just to protect the crown prince's position. But the pathetic male lead, Shenhen, eventually fell for a woman who was just a cheap substitute for her. Once Shenhen became emperor, he suspected Rukang of targeting his new obsession. In the end, my aunt died as collateral damage in the hero's quest to win back his new love. Yuji studied her gentle aunt's face. How could a woman this stunning be a villain? The author was wrong. She looks like a tiny divine acolyte from a holy temple. Smitten by her aunt's grace, Yuji snuggled in. As she touched her aunt's hand, her internal screams echoed directly into the Empress's mind. "Hello!" Rukang's smile vanished. What was that? Did the infant just speak inside my head? My beautiful aunt is going to die tonight. That scumbag Shenhen has completely lost his mind. Fine, be in love. Play your twisted games elsewhere. But why must my aunt suffer for it? This is an outrage. I won't let those two destroy my wonderful aunt.
That woman mentioned in the shadows. She must be the one hidden in the remote palace. The realization that her husband was plotting her murder brought a sudden sting of tears to Rakong's eyes. She had sacrificed everything for his crown, while he was indulging in a secret affair with a double. It's been far too long, sister. I'll be staying the night so we can finally speak plainly. Yan agreed instantly. I'd love that. Liu Kyung turned to her maid, Hongju, saying, "Take my token back to the palace and request the emperor's favor. Tell him I'll stay at the Prince of Pingan's manor." Like Liu Ruan, Liu Kyung was done with love and ready to crush a scumbag husband. It was time to remind the emperor of his vows. If a man's heart strays, you just pluck it out. Juji was stunned. What? I was ready to wail to help her stay, but they aren't even giving me a chance to perform. Meanwhile, after a grueling month of arduous travel, the Northern Yin envoys finally reached the Southern Yu capital. Just as they were about to enter the city, they stopped. An envoy approached Ning Huaming's carriage. "Your Highness, we are almost at the capital. Why don't we rest outside the city today?" Ning Huaming's attendant pulled back the curtain, seeing it was early. Why stop outside instead of entering? What is the meaning of this? The envoy ignored him and spoke directly to Ning Huaming. "Your Highness, this is diplomacy. If we rush in, Southern Yu might think Northern Yin is afraid. If they are sincere, they will naturally send someone to welcome us." Ning Huaming pretended not to notice the disrespect, acting meekly. "Oh, I see. I was being thoughtless. We will follow your arrangements and rest outside the city." The attendant lowered the curtain, and the timid mask on Ning Huaming's face vanished. "They're trying so hard to keep me out. I'll give them credit for waiting a whole month to strike now that we've arrived." His attendant frowned. "Your Highness, the color of your eyes." Ning Huaming cut him off. "It's fine. Keep a low profile. Are the preparations I asked for ready?" The attendant responded respectfully. "Rest assured, Your Highness, everything is ready." Ning Huaming nodded. "Good. Tonight is destined to be a sleepless one." He closed his eyes, waiting for the trap. He waited for the assassins to walk into his web. Halfway through the feast, a sobbing woman burst in, begging the Empress for justice. The music died as guests exchanged curious, gossipy looks. The Empress saw the kneeling woman was the sister of the new top scholar. She frowned, asking, "What has happened?" The sister kept her head down, stammering and unable to speak a single word. Juji suddenly remembered her banquet also involved drama with her third brother. Hearing her daughter's thoughts, Liu Ruan's heart clenched. The clueless little baby Juji tried to recall the plot. Because third brother was the heir. Scumbag dad took him under his wing, but he was actually raising him to be a useless drunk and a gambler. Thanks to the scumbag's cover-ups, Mom never knew. Third brother's downfall all started on the day of my banquet. He offended the top scholar's sister. But Mom and the Empress thought she was lying. Not only did she lose justice, she was publicly scolded. Unable to bear the shame, she killed herself that night. From then on, the scholar held a grudge. In the end, he framed third brother for sleeping with a concubine. The emperor chopped off his limbs. Liu Ruan gasped. Her son, the heir, was being ruined right under her nose due to her neglect. She was so angry she could barely breathe. Her desire for vengeance surged within her. The girl's suppressed sobs brought her back. "I've been wronged, but I don't know how to speak." Thinking of her son's grim future, Liu Ruan knew she couldn't afford to offend this woman tonight. She ordered her maid to fetch her third son, then personally help the sister up. "I understand your grievance. Would you come to the side hall with the Empress and me privately?" The girl nodded timidly. In the hall, the third son, Zhu Jian, ran in excitedly. "Mother, you called?" Before he could even get close, Liu Ruan splashed tea in his face, sobering him up instantly. "So young and already so shameless. Look what you have done." Zhu Jian saw the girl and scoffed. He felt wronged. "Mother, I just tugged her clothes a little. Is it really a big deal?" Juji was indignant. "Of course it is. Mom, hurry up and whip him."
If you don't beat him now, the only thing waiting for him is a life of ruin and absolute destruction. You'll only end up mourning his loss at a gravesite soon. Seeing his defiance, Lu Ruan ordered a maid to strike his knees, forcing the heir down before the victim. With a heavy sigh, she offered her sincere apologies to the woman. My poor guidance led to your suffering. Name his punishment, and I shall see it done this very day. The girl froze in shock at the consort's humility. But the spoiled heir erupted in a fit of pure rage. Mother, I am the future master here, he screamed. Then, the Empress's icy voice cut through the chaos. Is that right? Then let's see if my imperial authority holds any weight. Guards, seize this boy at once. For his blatant insolence, 20 lashes of the rod. Little Yuji couldn't help but celebrate within her heart. Yes, teach him a lesson now before he ruins us all. Mom and the Empress are truly the best. Seeing the arrogant prince finally face justice, the scholar's sister felt her burning resentment start to fade away. With two powerful women backing her, the air cleared. Lu Ruan then promised to bring the troublemaker to her home tomorrow for a formal apology. Does this arrangement satisfy the debt? The consort asked the young woman. The girl bowed low, moved by their fairness. If he truly repents, then justice has been found today. I will not pursue this further, she whispered before departing. One fire was out, but another still smoldered. The crisis was averted, but Lu Ruan's mission to reform her wayward son had only just begun. Little Yuji was whisked away for a nap, much to her annoyance. She desperately wanted to see the drama, but duty called. Once the baby was safely gone, Lu Ruan's expression shifted into a mask of cold steel. Scour the household. Anyone who poisoned my son's mind with decadence shall face a brutal death today. A death sentence for the enablers. Meanwhile, Yuji gazed at the moon while being carried through the garden. She sighed under the silver light, reflecting on her strange new life within this twisted, trashy, novel world. Will I ever return? A loving mother is nice, but I desperately miss my modern world and phone. All this because I clicked a link and shared a name with a doomed protagonist in the third book. I shouldn't have been a keyboard warrior, calling this plot a mess filled with absolute psychopaths and lunatics. If you're so smart, do it yourself, a reader challenged. I never thought fate would actually listen to them. Now I'm trapped as a helpless infant in this tragic tale. Suddenly, a dark shadow emerged from the rocks. An assassin lunged. With a swift strike to the maid's neck, he caught the falling baby midair. Close call, he hissed. Can't let my precious hostage break before we even begin our journey. Like a phantom, he vanished into the night. A nearby maid stood frozen, paralyzed by sheer, heart-stopping terror. Help! The little miss is gone! She shrieked. But Yuji? She remained strangely calm during her own abduction. Tears welled in her eyes as she bid a silent, dramatic farewell to her mother and her peace. I'm sailing away, leaving this world of lunatics behind. Meanwhile, danger lurked at a nearby inn outside city. Shadowy figures slipped into Ninghwa's chamber, blades drawn and thirsting for blood as they approached the bed. They plunged their steel into the covers with lethal intent. But the sensation was horribly, terribly wrong. Feathers exploded from the mattress, a decoy. They had been played like total fools in a deadly game. Nothing but pillows. Damn it! The leader roared, his voice trembling with sheer, unbridled rage and frustration. The boy is gone. He's headed for the city. Kill every child you see. Leave no witnesses alive. Spare no one. A mistake is better than a failure. Meanwhile, back in the dark city streets, Yuji's kidnapper hit a wall. He never expected the family to react with such lightning-fast, imperial speed. The gates were locked, and the patrol was swarming every corner. He was effectively trapped, like a rat. With nowhere to run, he ducked into the shadows, just as the patrol's heavy footsteps thundered closer. He glared at the infant. This child is just dead weight. I must stash her for now. I'll return later, he hissed. But Yuji was busy struggling against his suffocating and sweaty grip. Look, kidnap me if you want, but I need air. Is face smothering a local fetish or what? He finally released his grip, and Yuji prepared to let out a world-shattering scream for her life. But before she could gasp, he shoved a gag into her mouth, sealing her lips tight and silent. Oxygen at last. And it's gone again. Yuji could only roll her eyes at this amateur hour villainy. Sensing her discomfort, he set her down, hiding her beneath a wicker basket before vanishing into the shadows. His plan seemed flawless, yet he never imagined a young beggar child would slip into the alleyway moments later. It was none other than Ning Huiming, disguised and desperately fleeing the blades of his own relentless assassins. One crisis after another. His disguise worked, but the sudden city lockdown had completely shattered his escape plans. Lost in the capital's labyrinth, he sought refuge in the deep slums. Exhausted, he approached a pile of baskets. Just as he reached out, a voice echoed from beneath the straw. Humph! Let me teach you a lesson today. No matter how clever you think you are, someone is always better. Did you think a tiny walnut could silence me? Only his past life composure kept him from screaming. If he made a sound now, the assassins would surely find him. Trapped inside, little Juji struggled against her wicker prison, completely unaware of the boy standing right outside. She slumped in frustration. Curse these tiny, useless baby arms. If she couldn't move, she'd have to use her voice. Taking a deep breath, she prepared to wail for help. Suddenly, the world brightened as the basket was lifted away. A baby and a boy locked eyes in stunned silence. Ning Huiming stared at the infant, his mind racing. Why was a baby hidden here? And more importantly, how could a child this decay so clearly? Juji felt relieved seeing just a boy, thinking her rescue had arrived. But then, heavy footsteps echoed nearby. Ning Huiming's heart hammered against his ribs. The assassins had found him. There was no time for questions. Ignoring the mystery of the talking baby, he scooped her up and ducked back under the basket together. Juji was speechless. Wait, you aren't saving me? You're just stealing my hiding spot? What kind of hero are you? The footsteps stopped right beside them. Paralyzed with fear, Ning Huiming prayed the infant wouldn't make a single peep. He clamped a hand over her mouth. Then he heard it again, that strange, sassy voice echoing in his mind. Here we go again. You're being incredibly rude. You won't save me, yet you're squatting in my spot? And now you're covering my mouth? So annoying. Why is it always the mouth? In the darkness, the boy froze. I'm covering her lips, so how is she still speaking? He wondered. She was far too young to talk, anyway. Then, the shocking truth dawned on him. He was hearing her inner thoughts. But how was such a miracle possible? He couldn't dwell on it. Outside, the hunters began to speak. Boss, I saw him run right into this alley. Useless fools, you lost a single child? Keep looking. If he escapes, he will become a nightmare for us later. Once the danger passed, Ning Huiming cautiously lifted the basket. He set the baby down, checking the perimeter. Terrified he'd abandon her, Juji lunged forward, grabbing his tunic. She gave him her most adorable, pleading smile. We shared a basket, didn't we? She screamed internally. Save me! I was kidnapped! Take me home and I'll be your sister forever! Hearing this, Ning Huiming's gaze darkened with mystery. He remembered the child from his recurring dreams. A strange connection bound them. A newborn, dressed in silks. Could this really be the same girl from his visions? Was it fate or just a coincidence? Kneeling before her, he pretended to mumble while probing her secret thoughts. We're both outcasts, aren't we? Abandoned by our kin. But you're so small. I can't possibly take you with me. Juji, unaware her mind was an open book, was moved to tears. Wait! I have a massive glowing pearl at home. It's bigger than my fist. If you save me, I'll give it to you. Ning Huiming's suspicions were instantly confirmed. The child in his dreams was also obsessed with a luminescent pearl. Could she be the one he was seeking? Could such a coincidence exist? And this ability to hear her soul, how did it work? He needed answers. Perhaps this girl was the key to the mysteries that had haunted his life. He flashed a gentle, harmless smile. Yet his voice remained cold. I don't know your home. I'll just leave you at the local magistrate's office.
Juji's tears vanished as hope flickered back to life. She wanted to worship the kind-hearted boy before her.
You're a literal saint, my living Buddha. As Ning Huiming reached for her, a sneering voice cut through the air. Well, little brat! I knew you were hiding here somewhere. The killers had returned, blocking their path.
They both spun around in shock. Juji clung to Ning Huiming, her heart racing. They're back already? That's terrifying. A bloody battle was now inevitable. He looked at the infant and whispered, "Can you hold your breath?"
Not if you understand. If not, you're in for a very rough ride. The shadow of death loomed over them.
Leaning close to Ju Yuji, he murmured urgently, "Can you hold your breath? Just nod, or you're about to take a dangerous risk." Nap?
Ju Yuji nodded before she could think, failing to realize a normal infant wouldn't understand a word. Her mind raced with excitement. I've got it! Just stop breathing, right? I'm a total pro at playing dead. I survived my own birth by faking it. Check the logs. Ning Huaming smirked, feeling the weight of the tiny girl. So you really do understand me, he chuckled. On 3, hold your breath. Suddenly, realization struck the little genius. She slammed her hands over her mouth. I exposed myself. Wait, did this brat just outsmart me? Ning Huaming grinned. He knew she was no ordinary child. Tossing her upward, he roared, 3! While hurling smoke bombs into the street. Blinding white fog engulfed the narrow alleyway instantly. Amidst the chaos, he snatched her from the air and vanished. They slipped past the guards like shadows. As darkness took her, Yuji cast one final, bitter thought at her captor. This is true betrayal. I've never met a guy this chaotic in my entire life. My poor, tiny heart is shattered. The explosion drew the city watch, distracting the assassins and securing their escape. Finally, the boy found a silent refuge. After losing their pursuers, they hid in the shadows. Hours later, Yuji's eyes fluttered open to a chilling, damp air. It's freezing. Was that kidnapping just a bad dream? She scanned the derelict, dust-choked room with a growing sense of dread. Reality hit as she felt the boy beneath her. But his eyes were sealed shut, his face a ghostly, terrifying shade. A silent scream echoed in her soul. Is he dead? She thrashed her tiny limbs, desperate to flee the corpse. Being a mere infant, her escape was impossible. Panic surged, and she let out a piercing, soul-shaking wail of despair. The noise stirred Huaming. Be still, he gasped. Yuji froze instantly, staring at his pained expression. You're still breathing? Why stay silent? You nearly gave me a heart attack. Wait, is that blood? Your shoulder is soaked. What now? You can't die yet. Huaming was fading. A venomous dart had paralyzed his body, slowly stealing his very life force. Only an antidote could save him. The pill, he wheezed. Yuji tilted her head, confused but desperate to help. Panic flared in the boy's eyes as his voice failed. His only hope rested in the hands of this bizarre infant. He focused his last strength, gesturing toward his robe. Chest pocket. Yuji's mental gears turned with a sharp internal snap. Say that first. I thought you were dropping a sick beat. She scrambled, tiny hands digging frantically into his layered clothes. Finally, her fingers grazed a cold porcelain vial. She held it up triumphantly, her eyes searching his for any confirmation. He was paralyzed, unable to explain the dosage. With a desperate effort, he gave the tiniest, most subtle nod possible. Yuji popped the cork and poured every single pill into her palm. 5 glowing spheres of medicine rested in her grip. She shoved the entire handful and her tiny fist straight into his mouth. He could only stare in wide-eyed, muffled shock. In 2 whole lifetimes, no one had ever force-fed him medicine, let alone an entire baby's fist along with it.
I'm tiny. I couldn't risk dropping one. Just deal with it. Your life is literally in my hands right now. Hua Ming's heart bled for a different reason. Each of those pills was a king's ransom. He wasn't swallowing medicine, he was eating gold. As the expensive remedy took effect, the venom's icy grip finally began to thaw from his numbed, aching limbs. After treating his wounds, he collapsed into a deep sleep, cradling the tired infant against his chest like a treasure. His blood-red eyes watched her. Her chaotic thoughts still echoed in his mind. Nothing about this situation made any sense. This girl was a chaotic brat. Yet his dreams showed a tragic woman driving a cold gay blade through his heart. Their souls seemed entirely different. How could they be one? He stared at the Chike chubby infant resting upon him. Chike, instinctively, his finger reached out to poke her round cheek. A single thought crossed his mind. She's actually quite soft. Yuji's eyes snapped open, glaring with pure accusation. Why are you poking me, you creep? She stared him down intensely. He recoiled, avoiding her piercing gaze. It wasn't a fever dream, he realized. I truly can hear her every thought. A divine yet terrifying power. With just a touch, her soul's voice becomes his to hear. This child is a mystery. Reason dictated he should silence this threat forever. Yet this tiny, annoying creature had somehow saved his life today. A rare spark of mercy flickered. I'll leave her here. Survival is up to her now. My debt is paid. He rose to leave. Yuji's eyes widened. Oh, you're healed? Awesome. Now take me home before I catch a cold. She reached out her tiny arms, expecting a ride. Instead, he set her down coldly and turned toward the exit. Her heart sank. Wait, hey, big brother, my dear savior. You're not seriously ditching me right now, are you? Meeting you was my worst mistake. If you won't save me, at least dump me somewhere with better foot traffic. Put me on a busy street corner. I'm not picky. She watched his retreating back with a mix of fury and fear. As Ming walked away, Juji's heart shattered, her tiny frame erupting into desperate, piercing wails. Suddenly, Ning Haiming returned, his gaze swirling with a complex, unreadable storm of dark emotions. Why the tears? He asked. Juji froze. Hadn't he left? A weary, bitter smile touched him. Before he could speak, boots thundered outside as a battalion of soldiers stormed the room. Instantly, Ning Haiming snatched Juji up, his protective grip tightening like steel against the threat. His eyes burned with caution, but Juji saw the guards. Then the truth dawned on her. Tears of gratitude welled. He brought the cavalry. I was blind. I cursed your ancestors. She nuzzled him with newfound affection, while Ning Haiming remained eerily silent and cold. Go ahead, misunderstand, he thought darkly. He played along with her naive, desperate assumptions. Little sister, a familiar voice roared. Her brother, Jujimu, was the first to charge inside. Her tough facade crumbled instantly, but when Jujimu reached out, Ning Haiming instinctively recoiled. That cold, evasive move made Jujimu's eyes flash. Who are you? Release my sister this instant. Fearing a bloodbath, Juji screamed mentally. That's my brother, kid. Give me back. Don't fight. Sensing her panic, Ning Haiming yielded, gently handing the infant over to the formidable noble. I am Ning Chi. My family runs security. My apologies for the standoff earlier. I thought the kidnappers returned. Jujimu narrowed his eyes, his mental connection tingling with suspicion. He sized the boy up. For a child to rescue her from monsters, he was lethal. Young Master Ning, you saved her. Our debt is immense. But why the ragged state? Ning Haiming hadn't expected such sharp wit. He lowered his head, feigning deep shame. He stammered slightly. My stepmother, she's seized our business. I've been hiding to survive. Juji's heart twisted with pity. Poor boy. He's living a real-life fairy tale nightmare. He's like a tragic version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
My hero deserves better.
When Liu Ruyan arrived, she found her daughter safely in her son's strong arms.
She snatched the baby back, sobbing, "My precious girl, thank the heavens you're all right." She missed the boy's gaze, fixed on her with haunting intensity since she first appeared. Her face matched the beautiful woman from his prophetic nightmares. The resemblance was terrifyingly perfect. His gaze fell on the baby. The dream was real. This coincidence was a cruel joke. This child was his destined killer. The sword hanging over him had finally, brutally fallen. He felt bitter regret. His moment of mercy protected his own future executioner. Safe at last. Juji's tears flowed as she poured her soul into her mother's mind. "Mom, I'm back! That kid saved me! He's my hero! You have to help him!" Hearing her daughter's mental praise, Liu Ruyan's heart softened. She turned to the boy. "Young man, thank you is not enough. Please, stay at our residence as our guest." Ning Haiming stared at her. The prophecy was confirmed. This infant was his end. He cursed his compassion, yet a dark spark ignited. He'd use this proximity to his advantage. Juji saw his hesitation and misunderstood. "Don't be shy, kid. Say yes and claim wealth." She beamed at him, unaware of the predator within. Ning Haiming gave a slow nod. "I would be honored," he replied, his heart turning to ice. He followed them home. His fists clenched tightly. "I won't go soft this time. Not again," he vowed. Upon returning, Liu Ruyan was stunned to see a man who had long been absent. It was Zhu Chao. He intended to gloss over the kidnapping until he saw her gaze. He instantly donned his loving father mask. "I rushed back. Is my little five safe?" "Where is the villain? I'll make them regret being born," he barked with fake fury. Juji watched his performance with a cynical eye. "Keep acting, you absolute hollow fraud." Tears welled in her eyes as she turned back to her mother. Juji continued her mental report. "Mom, this man is the shadow behind my abduction. My detective show logic proves the truth. His baby swap failed, so he's trying again." He rushed back before his goons could even report their failure. "You're lucky I can't speak yet. I'd feed you a web of lies about their arrest just to haunt your dreams, old man." Liu Ruyan's heart hardened. The truth of the baby swap fueled her thirst for vengeance. She held Juji closer, her eyes masking a cold fury behind a gentle, motherly smile. The kidnapper fled, but he left a trace behind. Her husband's composure shattered instantly. "What did he leave?" he barked. Juji laughed internally. "Look at him panic." From the shadows, Ning Haiming watched the charade, a dangerous smirk dancing on his lips. This prince clearly despised his own blood. Meanwhile, the consort was merely playing her role. A treacherous father, a mother plotting in secret, and an older brother calculating every move. Even the infant seemed to possess an eerie understanding. This household was a masterpiece of deceit. This was far more entertaining than he anticipated. A dark chuckle escaped his throat. Juji glared at him. Why is this kid suddenly smiling like a true villain? Ning Haiming caught her thought and stiffened, instantly regaining his mask of calm indifference. The adults noticed nothing. Finally, Liu Ruyan broke the suspense with a teasing, sharp smile. "The evidence doesn't matter, darling. Look at little five. She's been longing for her father." Her husband was paralyzed by the mention of evidence. His mind raced with terror. "Not important. Give it to me immediately." Juji saw her mother toying with this scumbag. She played along perfectly, letting out a fake, piercing wail to interrupt his desperate questioning. Liu Ruyan sighed, comforting the child. "Hush now, husband. You're terrifying our poor little five." He was silenced instantly. Frustrated, the Prince of Pingan shifted his gaze toward their young guest. "Forgive my thoughtlessness, dear." Liu Ruyan finally acknowledged the boy who saved her child. "He saved our daughter. Without this young man, little five wouldn't have been Drike on us." Ning Haiming offered a graceful bow. The prince looked at the boy's radiant smile and fumed. This brat had single-handedly ruined his elaborate schemes. Yet he had to offer fake gratitude. "You are her savior. Please, stay as our honored guest. Anything you desire is yours." Ning Haiming ignored the murderous glint in the prince's eyes, maintaining his bright, heroic facade. "I am honored, my lord." Later, in his private study, the prince's rage finally exploded. An inkstone shattered against the wall. With the swap failed, he needed a deadlier strategy. He had plotted for a month to discard the child, hoping to replace her with his mistress's daughter. It was a foolproof plan to comfort his grieving wife, until this meddling boy intervened. If that evidence linked back to him, the Empress would have his head. He was cornered. Fear turned into a dark resolve. He wouldn't wait to be exposed. He would strike first. If the consort died of a sudden illness, his secrets would be buried forever. While he plotted a cold-blooded murder, Ning Haiming settled in, playing the role of humble savior. A secret message arrived via pigeon. The Northern Yin envoy was stalling at the border. They claimed the prince's disappearance was a provocation. Southern Yue was now searching frantically. Ning Haiming's suspicions were confirmed. His own kingdom wanted him dead to spark a war. His murder was meant to be the spark. That's why the assassins struck upon his arrival. In his previous life, an envoy's blood triggered invasion. Now, they wanted a prince's corpse. A dead prince would be the perfect catalyst to sabotage peace talks and fuel their outrage. Having infiltrated the capital early, he'd forced them to change tactics. Now they can only stall. Southern Yue was desperate to find him. His enemies want this peace to shatter. "They crave chaos," he whispered. "But I will ensure this peace remains unbroken." Just then, a maid's voice echoed from the hallway. "Young Master Ning, the princess consort summons you immediately." Ning Haiming stepped out, following the silent maid toward Liu Ruan's secluded courtyard. "Young master, please wait here. The princess consort will arrive shortly." Ning nodded, wondering why he'd been called. Suddenly, a small movement caught his eye. He glanced over to see little Yuji precariously climbing, her tiny hands reaching for something hidden high above. Suddenly, the toddler slipped. Before he could even think, Ning's body moved on instinct, lunging forward to break her fall. Ju Yuji looked up at her savior with a mischievous grin. "You're here! Mom's inside picking out some new robes for you." Then, with a look of sheer agony, she slowly extended her hand, revealing a massive, glowing, night-luminescent pearl. "Here, this is yours." Shijisi gemmed toward him, quickly turning away to hide her tearful reluctance. Ning Haiming stared at the treasure in shock. "For me?" The little girl gave him a surprisingly solemn, heavy nod. His heart skipped. He remembered his past visions. This child cherished this pearl more than her own life, even in sleep. And now she was simply giving it away. Could this innocent soul truly be the one destined to murder him? Looking at the pearl and the adorable baby, Ning's icy resolve began to crumble. He had never seen her grown up. How could he be certain she was his killer? Perhaps she and the woman from his nightmares were entirely different. The moment hope flickered in his heart, he recoiled. He shook his head violently, desperate to banish the dangerous softness. "I've only met her twice. Why is my heart wavering? If I continue like this, will I truly fall for her?" Remembering the dream, only one dark thought remained. If her killing me is destiny, then I must kill her first. His hands turned cold as he loosened his grip. Without warning, he let her slip, and she tumbled with a cry. She hit the grass with a series of tiny yelps. Luckily, the fall was shallow, and the toddler remained physically unharmed. Unaware of the murderous intent radiating from him, she assumed he was simply too weak to hold her any longer. As they stood in the heavy silence, Ju Shao entered. Ning Haiming offered a deep, respectful bow to the man. Though he wore a mask of calm, the blisters on his lips betrayed the crushing stress of the past 2 days. "Young master is my daughter's savior," he said coldly. "There is no need for such empty, formal pleasantries between us."
Realizing the Ruan was absent, a predatory joy filled his eyes. This was a godsend. He stepped toward the child. "Little five, did you miss your father? Look at what I brought." He dangled a shimmering golden locket before her. "Do you like it? Come, let Daddy put it on for you." Yuji stared at the gold, a strange smile forming. As he leaned in, she suddenly swung her tiny fist, knocking the locket across the floor. Her eyes flashed with hatred. She bit down hard on her father's hand with her gummy mouth, cursing the old snake in her mind. "You monster! I know this locket is poisoned. You want to trigger my cold illness and kill us both in one stroke, right? You pathetic scumbag. You think you can outplay someone who already knows every twist in your wretched little story?" Though it didn't hurt, Zhao shook his arm in pure disgust, showing zero concern for his daughter's safety. At that critical moment, it was Ning Haiming who once again caught the falling child, shielding her from the impact. Zhao recoiled in horror, looking at his own flesh and blood as if she were some kind of demonic monster. This child had evaded every single one of his traps. It was unnatural. He suddenly recalled a seer's chilling prophecy. The child born to the princess consort carries a terrifying destiny. You must be extremely cautious around her. Comparing that warning to these bizarre events, he realized the truth. This daughter was born to be his ultimate ruin. Pure killing intent flickered in his gaze. He grew desperate to erase both mother and daughter from the world forever. Ning Haiming pretended to be oblivious to the lethal tension, but inside, he was reeling with absolute horror. How did she know the locket was toxic? And what was this bird's eye view she spoke of in her mind? Can she see the future? If so, does she already know that I'm planning to end her life as well? As the silent battle raged between them, Ruan finally emerged. Seeing her, Zhao immediately turned and fled. Ruan's eyes darkened with suspicion. She knew her husband was plotting against their daughter. She had to act now. Forcing a gentle smile, she pushed her rage aside and approached Ning Haiming. She had to protect her family's future. "Young Master Ning, I've ordered new robes for you. For now, please accept these garments from my fourth son. He is roughly your size, and since he's away, these should serve you well until the others are delivered tomorrow." But before she could finish her kind words, Ning Haiming cut her off with a voice that rang like cold steel. "Your kindness is noted, but I must decline." Haiming whispered, returning the radiant night pearl to the lady. He insisted such treasures didn't suit his lowly station. Passing little Yuji to Ruan, he prepared his departure. He knew their story could only end in tragedy. To him, her warmth was nothing but a heavy burden. Ruan stood frozen in confusion. How could a boy so humble turn into ice in a single heartbeat? She glanced at Yuji, searching for answers. Yuji was baffled too. Maybe the pearl just wasn't big enough? As Haiming stepped out, a figure blocked his path. It was Jimu, Yuji's formidable older brother, watching him. "Your Highness," Jimu began, "Southern Ua is hunting the seventh prince of Northern Yin. Is this your hiding spot? The Prince of Pingon's manor is a bold choice. The world outside is descending into utter chaos for you." His secret was out, but Haiming didn't flinch. Instead, a sharp, confident smirk played on his lips as he countered. "If you've known my face for so long, why stay silent?" Jimu offered a faint, knowing smile in response. "You saved my sister. By law and blood, this household owes you a debt that must be repaid." Haiming's voice remained devoid of warmth. "You're too kind. Don't worry. I'll vanish when the moment is right." Jimu bowed. Two geniuses stood before each other, silently agreeing on a path that benefited both their houses. Back in his chambers, Haiming pulled out a hidden vial. He needed to know if Yuji possessed divine foresight. The poison was a masterwork of deception, technically a tonic. Even the finest doctors wouldn't find a trace of venom. Yet, its ingredients were a lethal contradiction. Together, they formed a silent killer that would strike without warning. If Yuji truly saw the future, she'd sense the danger. If she didn't, then his path would be clear. He prepared the dose, his heart cold. If she was just a normal child, this would be best. He checked if the princess consort was around. Fortune favored him. She had departed for the palace today. This was a heaven-sent chance. Feigning ignorance, he strolled toward the courtyard where the little lady waited. A young maid rushed to greet him. "Master Ning, are you looking for the lady? She is out today." Haiming flashed a polite, fake smile. "Ah, I completely forgot. I'll come back later. Have a wonderful day." On her bed, Yuji's eyes sparkled when she saw him. "Kid," she babbled happily, reaching out tiny hands. Seeing the child's pure joy, the maid insisted he stay. Haiming smiled. Refusing would seem far too suspicious. He sat beside her, but his eyes were locked on the milk bottle. It sat there, innocent and waiting. As Yuji gestured toward a box, his hand moved with lethal grace. He slipped the tonic into her milk. The liquid was invisible and odorless. It wouldn't kill her today. It was a slow, cruel countdown to eternity. She would feel healthy at first, but months later, her heart would simply stop in her sleep, forever. "What's this?" he asked, picking up the box. Yuji looked at him with big, tearful eyes, looking quite dramatic. She seemed to be making a massive sacrifice. "I thought maybe you hated that pearl because it was small. So I'm giving you all my worldly treasures. Please take them and don't be sad anymore, okay? We're siblings now, sworn by fate. So don't feel guilty about my love. Oh, wait, pass me my milk." Haiming heard her thoughts and nodded. To him, this was a merciful end, one that was painless and quiet. He handed her the bottle, ready to seal her fate. But Yuji didn't drink. She just stared intently. A chill ran down his spine. Why was she looking at him like that? Her eyes shimmered strangely. Suddenly, Yuji grabbed his hand. She pressed the milk bottle against his own lips with a determined pout. "Since we're siblings, we need a ceremony. To seal our bond, you must share this milk with me." Haiming's face turned ashen. One moment, he was the assassin. The next, he faced his own deadly concoction. Was this a terrifying coincidence? Or did this child see through him? Panic began to set in deep. He tried to force a calm smile. "Little miss, don't be silly. This is yours. I couldn't possibly." The maid laughed, thinking it was just a sweet moment. She wanted the two children to be friends. "Master Ning, it's just fresh goat's milk," she said warmly. "There's plenty for both. Please, enjoy it." Haiming stood frozen, bottle in hand. Yuji gave it another forceful shove, her expression turning into a scowl. "Are you looking down on me? If you don't drink, you're rejecting our bond." He was completely trapped. Yuji's face grew even more upset. He realized that if he didn't drink, his cover would be blown. After a fierce mental war, he tremblingly downed the milk in one desperate gulp. His resolve went unnoticed, but the empty bottle made Yuji's expression instantly darken. "Hey, big brother, I didn't say drink at all. That was my entire day's ration." Do you know the trauma of a baby with no milk? Her mental cries fell on deaf ears. Ning Haiming had no time for her. He had only one desperate goal remaining. Reach his room, take the antidote. He bolted without a word, leaving the nursery behind. Little Juji was left utterly shell-shocked. What just happened? Is he actually throwing a tantrum? I was just complaining. I didn't think this kid was even more sensitive than me. Meanwhile, Haiming reached his room, swallowed the antidote, and collapsed onto his bed, utterly spent. His mind raced. The medicine wasn't instant, and the poison's icy grip was already tightening. He gritted his teeth in agony. This Ju Yuji, she really is my living curse. Luckily, one last antidote remained. At least she hadn't realized his murderous intent. Not yet. With this failure, a second chance would be impossible. Perhaps it was finally time to vanish. His consciousness faded as the drug took hold, dragging him into a heavy, dreamless slumber. Hours bled into night. A piercing, unignorable gaze forced him awake. Someone was there. He opened his eyes to find a massive face inches from his. He screamed instinctively. "Kid, are you okay?"
It was just Juji. Miss Five, what are you doing here? Juji, communicating through her unique aura, explained everything. You missed dinner, so we came. My brother left, but I stayed. Suddenly, her sharp eyes caught a crimson rash on his neck. Without warning, she pinned him down, pulling at his collar to inspect the mark. Are you sick? Haiming was still fragile from the poison. Her sudden strength felt like it would suffocate him. It's just the milk. I'm allergic. Let go. I can't breathe. He gasped for air. Realizing he was fine, Juji chuckled. Sorry, these new limbs are still a bit clumsy. Blame the milk. Haiming felt certain she was sent by fate to haunt him. Exhausted, he pretended to fall asleep. The chattering baby finally fell silent. Ah, youth. Falling asleep in the blink of an eye. With no one left to annoy, she made herself comfortable right next to the boy. If you can't forgive me willingly, then just force yourself to. With that, she drifted off. Sensing her deep breathing, Haiming opened his eyes. He stared at her with pure, helpless disbelief. Who's the one who fell asleep instantly? She looked so small, yet possessed such terrifying strength. For a second, I saw my ancestor's ghost. This child is truly one of a kind. Before he could process the thought, a tiny, unconscious fist collided squarely with his cheek. Ouch! A red mark bloomed on his face. He quickly scrambled out of the bed, eyes flickering. It was just the two of them. If he just held the blanket over her, this variable would end. He hesitated, staring at the innocent infant. The darkness in his heart battled with his conscience. Just as his hand reached out, Jujimu appeared like a ghost behind him. Admiring the moon, Your Highness? The perfect opportunity vanished instantly. Haiming knew he could no longer stay within these walls. With the poise of an adult soul, he turned without fear. Young Master Ju has quite the timing. My men have waited 2 days outside. It's time I depart. Until next time, farewell. After he left, Jujimu looked down at his sleeping sister. A wave of helplessness washing over him. From his view, it looked like a simple gesture of care. But their identities suggested something darker. Was this bond a blessing or a catastrophe waiting to happen? He gently tapped her tiny nose. Little sister, you've gone and invited some serious trouble. The next morning, the household was in shock. Liu Ruan was frantic upon hearing Haiming had vanished in the night. Why leave so abruptly? Jujimu sighed. Urgent family matters, mother. I'm just not sure how little Five will take it. They entered the room only to find Ju Yuji greeting them with her usual bubbling energy. Seeing her precious girl, all her fatigue vanished. She held her close, drowning in motherly affection. After those sweet cuddles, Ju Yuji's mind raced. Wait, Mom, where's the boy I was with? How did I even get back here? And where is my little friend? By now, her brothers could hear every frantic thought echoing in her mind. Jujimu answered with heavy hesitation. Little Five, I have some heartbreaking news. Young Ningqi is gone. Yuji froze. Then a soul-shattering wail erupted. Dead? But he was fine! Why did fate take him so soon? Oh, you poor, tragic soul, I'm so sorry. Her dramatic mourning nearly burst Jujimu's eardrums. He cut her off instantly. Stop, don't cry. I meant he left the manor, not this mortal coil. It's his father whose time is up. Ningqi had returned home to reclaim his stolen birthright from his evil stepmother's clutches. Yuji's sobs turned into an indignant huff. Could you not have led with that? Really? Using the word gone so recklessly. My heart can't take this drama. Will I ever see him again? She pouted in her mother's embrace. But before she could wallow, a chilling aura suddenly swept through the room. Intense, killing intent radiated from outside. Yuji's eyes snapped open, her innocent face hardening with sharp focus. Sensing her alarm, her family glared toward the door. There stood Jushao, the man they hadn't seen for days. He entered with a mysterious entourage. What schemes is this scumbag brewing now? Yuji watched her father with pure disgust. That old snake was far too quiet. He was undoubtedly planning something truly sinister today. Her mother's gaze flickered, but she maintained a poised, elegant smile.
Husband, to what do we owe this visit? Zhu Shao wore a mask of fatherly concern. Priests from the sacred Qingyun temple have arrived with urgent news. You know that temple is the Empress Dowager's holy site. We must show them the utmost respect. Without waiting for a response, he ushered them in. A cold dread began to settle in her mother's heart. Suppressing her unease, she addressed the head priest. May I ask what brings such esteemed masters to our home? Yuji, a veteran of countless webtoon dramas, immediately began to analyze the tropes playing out before her. When a random priest appears out of nowhere, it's usually a villainous trap to frame the innocent protagonist. But Mom didn't hire them, which meant the target was closer to home. The head priest bowed deeply. Your ladyship, a month ago, my master sensed a calamity star descending upon this very world. Its trail led us directly to your gates. At those words, her mother finally realized the depth of their malice. A month ago? That was exactly when little Five was born. Every eye in the room turned toward her. Yuji blinked innocently. Are they talking about me? Her mother sent a silent, wry confirmation. Yes, little one. They're coming for you. Her mother feigned a scolding tone to bait the priest into revealing his hand. Master, how could my child be a curse? Surely you've erred. The priest played his part to perfection. The Calamity Star is a master of deception. I cannot yet name the soul harboring this dark omen. However, the stars declare that at midnight tonight, the true chaos will manifest for all to see. I shall perform a grand ritual to unmask the darkness. Her mother interrupted with a sharp, biting edge. This is madness. How can you trust these words so blindly? Zhu Shao replied with a sickly sweet tone. My dear, peace. This is exactly why we must proceed, to clear our daughter's name once and for all. It's for her own protection. Suddenly, a forgotten plot point flashed in Yuji's mind, and she wailed internally. Mom, your baby is a goner. I remember now. This old snake is a double agent for the enemy. He's a spy for Northern Yin. To destroy our kingdom's luck, he uses these priests to sow discord. He wants to drain our nation's prosperity. He's always used these frauds to whisper poison into the emperor's ear. After hearing her daughter's terrifying revelation, her mother was rocked to her core. This wasn't just infidelity anymore. She thought he was just a philandering fool using her for status. She never dreamed he was a traitor. This had escalated from a household spat to high treason. Her entire plan for vengeance had to change. Gathering her resolve, she masked her fury. If my lord insists, I shall not stand in your way. Perform your ritual. She retreated to her room with Yuji, her mind already weaving a far deadlier counterattack. Word of the sinister ritual soon reached Ning Haiming. Having resumed his true identity, his eyes turned icy. Not even a tiger devours its young. He's serving up his own daughter as a sacrificial lamb. The spy watching Zhu Yuji requested orders. Your Highness, shall we intervene and stop them? Ning Huan sneered. Why stop it? I am thrilled to let someone else remove this thorn for me. Let us fan the flames instead. Meanwhile, the mother and son retreated to plan their survival. Jujimo scanned the entry logs. The priests and villagers arrived with official documents from Qingyan Temple. That temple is leagues away. There is no time to verify their true identities now. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan's heart froze. Zhu Chaoxing's scheme was truly cold-blooded and ruthless. If Little Five is branded a calamity star, she faces certain exile or a tragic death. Despair loomed over them until Jujimo remembered his sister's extraordinary, hidden, divine power. Mother, why is she so silent? They turned to find Zhu Yuji frowning in deep concentration. The little one was plotting her own escape. They reached out to touch her small head. Immediately, her inner voice echoed clearly in their minds, without any barrier or obstruction. That old fossil really wants me dead. Main quest, survive past midnight. Let us do this. Side quest, slap that scumbag father's face. No cheats, just my own brilliant wits and luck. How did they fake this omen?
Ah, they must have used reactive chemicals on the ground. Once dried, a simple fire talisman ignites the pattern. It is just a cheap parlor trick. The flames will follow the pre-drawn lines, making the cursed words appear like a miracle. You started this! Now watch me launch a real PR war and show you true divinity. Her furious mental monologue left her mother and brother stunned, yet feeling incredibly relieved.
Little Five had a strategy.
They silently vowed to keep their telepathy a secret from her. Jujimo whispered, "Mother, let us strike first. We will proclaim our little five is a divine maiden. I have discovered their trick. They are using combustible chemicals to frame my sister tonight." Ju Yuji's eyes widened with pure admiration. My big brother is actually a genius, she thought.
Did he get a plot spoiler? He figured out the trick faster than I ever expected.
Liu Ruyen stifled a laugh. My sweet girl, you were the one who spoiled it. She kept a straight face. Then we shall use their own trap to prove her divinity. They want to brand her a curse, but we will reveal her as a heavenly blessing. Ju Yuji smirked inwardly. Perfect. I will use that glowing pearl from earlier for a holy aura. I will tuck it behind me for a radiant filter. Time to nail this goddess aesthetic. Wait, why is their acting so dramatic? And why are they both still gripping my head? The two quickly looked away, feigning ignorance, while enjoying the front row seat to her genius.
We cannot tell you, we are currently witnessing the birth of a legend through your thoughts.
Midnight arrived. Dressed in ethereal robes, Ju Yuji sat like a tiny immortal atop the altar.
Your Highness, the ceremony begins, the priest droned.
Ju Yuji watched her father with icy disdain.
Look at that hypocrite.
This whole performance is just a fancy way to kill his daughter.
Suddenly, the gate slammed open. General Pei and the city patrol stormed into the courtyard.
"Seal the exits," he roared. "Tonight, no soul leaves this residence until the truth is revealed. I have received word that a calamity star is appearing. I am under orders to investigate. The Emperor himself has commanded me to witness these events and identify the source of chaos." Ju Chaosing was stunned, but he smiled. This was a godsend to destroy her permanently. Once she is labeled a curse, even the Empress will not be able to save her. The priest began his dark dance, tossing a flaming talisman onto the chemical-soaked ground. Intense fire erupted instantly, swirling to form the unmistakable character for the number 5.
General Pei gasped.
Does this mean the 5th miss is the cursed star bringing us ruin? Panic surged through the crowd. Ju Yuji rolled her eyes. These idiots really need an education. Ju Chaosing grabbed the general's arm, putting on a pathetic show of a heartbroken, loving father. "General Pai, stop. This is a mistake. My daughter is no omen." The general merely pointed. "Save it for the Emperor." With a shove, he sent the prince sprawling. "Seize her," he barked, his men closing in on little Ju Yuji. Josang smirked from the dirt, savoring his dark victory. But that twisted satisfaction was destined to be short-lived. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. "Look! The flames! They're shifting! New characters are forming in the blaze!" Beneath the number 5, 2 words ignited. Divine Maiden. The curse is broken! The realization struck like a thunderbolt. She wasn't a curse. She was their salvation. The crowd turned to Juji, eyes wide with newfound reverence and awe. On the altar, she glowed. That hidden night pearl cast a celestial halo around her, cementing her holy status. The miracle was undeniable. Luan smirked. Her husband's wicked scheme had backfired in the most glorious way possible. He tried to bury his daughter, but instead, he crowned her. The man looked ready to choke on his own rage. Simply perfect. Bathed in pearlescent light, Ju Yuji appeared as a celestial being. The witnesses were utterly spellbound. A goddess on earth! Ignoring her father's lethal stare, the little girl raised one chubby, defiant hand toward him. As the crowd watched in confusion, Josang's expensive robes abruptly erupted into a terrifying, unnatural blaze. Royal dignity vanished. He thrashed like a madman, desperately batting at the fire. Chaos had officially taken the throne. Everything was spiraling. Little did he know, Luan had secretly dusted him with phosphorus powder earlier that evening. A masterful setup. Timing her reaction perfectly with her daughter's miracle, Luan gasped, putting on the performance of a lifetime. "Heavens!" she cried out in fake terror. "Is my own husband the true source of this calamity?"
The seed was planted.
"Of course," the crowd murmured. "The divine maiden is purging the evil star among us." As the mob turned their scorn on her father, Ju Yuji suppressed a wicked laugh. The tables had turned. "Rotten hell, old man," she thought. "No amount of explaining will clear your name now." But he wasn't finished. Her father's audacity knew no bounds. Thinking fast, Jo-sang dropped to the dirt, rolling and wailing in theatrical pain. "Forgive me, Divine One! I repent!" he shrieked. "Surely you wouldn't let your own father suffer such a fate." He knew logic was dead. His only hope was to validate her divinity and play the part of the exorcise. He thrashed about, putting on a grand spectacle to prove the evil spirit within him had finally been banished. Finally, he blinked, feigning total confusion. "Where am I? My dear, why is everyone gathered in our home like this?" Despite the crowd's visible disgust at his acting, he'd successfully shed the calamity label. What a slippery snake. Juji sighed. Life's a stage, and he's a damn Oscar winner. Realizing she'd pushed him far enough, she stayed quiet. She settled back, watching the fallout. General Pai, however, was watching her. Was this child truly a divine gift? He needed answers. Without a word, he turned back toward the palace to deliver a full report to the emperor. Nearby, Ning Qing lurked in the shadows. He'd sent a tip to the emperor to ruin her, but something felt wrong. He'd tried to fan the flames of her destruction, but his scheme had somehow turned into the wind beneath her wings, turning a curse into a blessing? Infuriating. He glared at his informant. "Where are the patrolmen I ordered?" The general headed to the palace, the spy whispered. "He's seeking an official imperial decree as we speak. A royal mandate should arrive within the hour." Ning Hua-ing exhaled, a cold light flickering in his eyes. "Then we wait. Let's see how the emperor handles a living saint. It's a heavy crown to wear. One slip up and a divine maiden becomes a corpse." Sure enough, 60 minutes later, the royal guards arrived. The entire Pingan household knelt in the dirt. An imperial edict was about to change everything once again. "By heaven's decree, as peace talks with our rivals loom, the Prince of Pingan is hereby summoned to duty. He must assist the ceremonial courts in greeting the Northern Yin delegation and brokering a final peace treaty." Juji's mind raced. It was just like the original plot. Her scumbag father was being sent straight into a trap. These talks would fail, and he'd be tossed into a cold cell for his incompetence. A perfect, one-way ticket to prison. "Your days are numbered, old man," she gloated silently. But her internal celebration was cut short by the next sentence. The messenger hadn't finished. The second half of the decree sent a chill down Juji's spine. "It is said the prince's fifth daughter possesses the grace of a divine maiden. She shall attend the summit. Her holy presence shall ensure our success." Juji's jaw dropped. What in the world did this have to do with her? Her color drained. "You've got to be kidding me," she screamed internally. Being a legend was becoming a real headache. Her good mood vanished instantly. In the original novel, negotiations were a sham. How could a few-month-old infant possibly change fate? Was he delusional? She wasn't even meant to be involved. The plot was glitching. Originally, after the baby swap failed, her scumbag father escaped with his mistress, dodging the peace talks entirely. No calamity star, no divine maiden prophecy. Cold terror gripped her heart. The story had completely derailed. Lu Ruyen heard her daughter's frantic thoughts and grew anxious. If failure was destined, wouldn't Little Five be in mortal danger during the talks? The imperial edict was absolute, yet she'd risk everything to save her child. "General Pei, the selection is final?" He cut her off with chilling authority. "His Majesty has spoken. The princess consort must simply obey. I shall depart." A heavy dread settled over them. They retreated to the shadows to whisper.
Mother, did you know the Northern Yin prince has mysteriously vanished? Liu Rian froze. What prince? She thought it was just a diplomatic farce.
Her brother's eyes narrowed. Exactly. The Emperor knows Northern Yin is playing games.
So why force Father and Little Five to attend? Something is terribly wrong. A divine maiden is a power that threatens the throne. The Emperor will never tolerate such a rival.
The cold truth hit them like a physical blow.
I get it. The old geezer and I are both sacrificial lambs, right? Even in the tension, he chuckled at her snark. But there is a way out. It depends on our next move. Father surely knows the stakes of this game. Suddenly, screams shattered the night. Assassin! Protect the inner courtyard! Lu Rian lunged for her baby, terrified her daughter would be snatched away again. The infant's heart raced. An assassin now? The plot was shattering into pieces. Give me back the story I read! Her mother's panic reached a fever pitch. What's happening? Are they trying to steal my little five again? Her son stood firm. Mother, stay calm. The city patrol is closing in, but they won't catch him. His gaze was sharp, calculating the truth. The baby realized it too. Wait, is this the old man's own scheme? Clever old fox. A shared look of relief passed between the three of them. If the Duke could fake an attack to escape, then so could Little Five. A dark smile played on his lips. A cold plague is sweeping the capital. If a child were to fall ill, even the Emperor must show mercy. High five, villain brother. You're just as brilliant as I am. But after the initial relief, Lu Rian felt a pang of superstitious fear. Don't worry, Mom. I've got cheat codes. I'll just play dead for now. It was their only move in this deadly game of imperial chess. Soon, the residence was in mourning. The fifth miss was deathly ill. A maid burst in, trembling. My lady, the Lord's men have arrived to inspect the child. The Ovarian's heart turned to ice at his ruthlessness. She is burning with fever. Tell him to stay away and focus on himself. As she touched her daughter's skin, she let out a silent scream. Scorching heat. The lie had transformed into a terrifying, real illness. In the depths of the fever, her soul drifted into a strange void. Darkness flickered into light. She stood upon a bridge over a shimmering lake. There, a mysterious young man stood waiting in the silver mist. A mysterious figure stood before her, his back turned. She couldn't see his face, but she longed to know. Where was she? And who was this stranger? Reaching out, she froze at the sight of her own slender, elegant hand. Wait, since when did I grow up? Startled, she scrambled to her feet. Her heart raced as she scanned the area. Is this a dream? How could a baby only a few months old suddenly transform into a full-grown woman? In that heartbeat, the young man turned. It was him, a grown-up Ning Haiming. The shock left her breathless as she recognized his face. Recognition hit her like a tidal wave, fueling her confusion. What on earth? Did you get an evolutionary upgrade too? To her, Ning Haiming was always the hero, so she approached without a shred of doubt. What is happening here? Tell me. But he remained silent, his gaze icy and distant. Had she mistaken him for someone else? His cold expression sent a shiver down her spine. Just as she opened her mouth to reintroduce herself, agony flared. A dagger was driven deep into her stomach. Blood bloomed like a dark rose. Stunned by the betrayal, Juyuji's shock turned to white-hot fury. Are you insane? We're total strangers. Why would you stab me? He offered no mercy, no answer. Instead, he coldly shoved her into the dark water to hide his crime. The world began to fade. Juji defiantly threw up her middle finger as she sank. This is my dream, jerk! Just wait until I respawn. You're dead. The burning pain and the terror of drowning felt hauntingly real. What kind of twisted nightmare is this? This isn't just a dream, it's a trap. If this happens again, I'll find out why and then kill you back. The moment that vow escaped her mind, Evga shifted instantly. She was back in the silent corridor. Trembling, she touched her abdomen, only to find the wound completely gone. Healed?
I really can respawn. Not only is it a dream, but I can reload from a save point. This nightmare is actually kind of incredible. Where is the trigger? She turned her head, only to see that cold-faced man again. Before she could even blink, the nightmare repeated. Fate was a cruel mistress. Once more, his blade found its mark. It was a perfect, chilling echo of the first time. After being stabbed, she was discarded like trash. As he pushed her back into the abyss, Juji felt purely numb. Are you serious? Again? For heaven's sake, am I in a time loop? The thought had barely formed when she was back in the hall, untouched. Armed with the experience of death, she braced herself. Not this time. This time, she struck first. She lunged, grabbing the young man's hand and trying to turn the lethal blade back toward his own chest. They crashed together in a desperate struggle. Juji sneered. Didn't expect that, did you? I've predicted your every move. After a fierce scuffle, they both backed away to a safe distance. She glared at him. I don't know why you're in my dream, but we have to stop this endless cycle of murder. Listen to me. You've already stabbed me at least 3 times. 3 whole times. I was going to let it slide, but why should I be the one to back down? If you hate me, why don't you just die? Why are you so obsessed with killing me? At her words, Ning Haiming's eyes flickered with a strange, haunting light. He looked at the dagger, confused. He felt like the blade should have already tasted blood. Suddenly, a searing pain tore through his head. As an intruder in her world, his consciousness finally awakened. Flashes of her death played out behind his eyes. The truth was surfacing. Everything she said was true. Seeing his dawning realization, Ju Yuji's temper flared even higher. You finally get it, you psycho? This is my dream world. You might not remember, but I've suffered through this, maybe not just 3 times, but thousands. Ning Haiming realized she didn't know he remembered too. He kept his secret guarded, deliberately flashing the deadly dagger once more. Since this loop won't end, should I just keep going? Hearing his cold challenge, Juji's survival instincts screamed. She backed away, horrified. Are you dense? One of us has to yield so we can break this curse. I'm not asking for another stabbing. You get it now? Seeing her fear, Ning Haiming finally sheathed his weapon. You remember? Then why didn't you stop me the second time? He questioned her failure to react. Ju Yuji exploded. You think I enjoyed being a pincushion? I didn't have a choice. By the time I respawned, your knife was already in my face. You drowned me so efficiently, I was more speechless than you. She paused, eyeing the grown-up version of the kid she knew. Do you think maybe we have some kind of past life connection? It's just like those epic fantasy dramas, right? We're stuck killing each other in dreams because of some real-world fate. A tangled web of destiny that we just can't escape. Ning Haiming froze. She had hit the nail right on the head. Her guess was dangerously accurate, but he refused to confirm it. He composed himself, looking around the shifting dreamscape. We need to find a way out of here. Juji was easily distracted, silently mocking his serious demeanor and low dream IQ. This guy is gorgeous, but his intelligence is questionable. Doesn't he know you can't just find an exit in a dream? Speaking of which, she hadn't even seen her own adult face yet. There were no mirrors, but the lake beckoned. Excited, she leaned over the edge of the crystal water. The surface rippled, then cleared, reflecting a face of pure elegance. It was no exaggeration. She was as beautiful as a goddess. The suffocating dread of the death loop vanished as she admired her reflection. Whoa, I'm actually this stunning? Her own beauty was the most magical part of this dream, truly divine. No man on this earth is worthy of my face, so I'll just date myself. Ning Ning stood speechless at her staggering ego. But before he could retort, the dreamscape began to shatter and warp. The fantasy was ending. Juji felt the void pulling her away. Desperate, she reached for Ning's sleeve, but her fingers found only air.
She plunged into the dark abyss. Then Juji's eyes flew open. Reality hit her like a tidal wave. Before her stood a breathtaking youth, gazing down at her with a warm smile, calling her junior sister. Her mind went completely blank. The handsome stranger dashed toward the door. "Junior sister, you are awake! I must inform master!" Juji's soul felt adrift. What master? What sister? Where am I, and where is my mother? How did a nap transport me to another world? Moments later, the legendary master finally stepped inside. "Well, now, our little flower has returned to us." The elderly Taoist chuckled, pinching Juji's soft cheek. "Little one, I am the Lord of Yang Valley. Do you understand why you are here?" Fresh from a nightmare and surrounded by strangers, Juji felt her world spinning in total confusion. Suddenly, she spotted the handsome youth behind the priest. A familiar face. She lunged at him, weeping. "My sworn brother! What are you doing here?" The young man, her supposed senior, looked utterly baffled. What is junior sister babbling about? I cannot understand a single word. Juji did not care. She was lost in the joy of reuniting with Ning Haiming, ignoring the world around her. Then she paused. "Wait, you look much taller now." Ning Haiming stared at the girl in shock. His mind reeled. This child is not speaking, yet I can hear her voice clearly. Am I reading her soul? We just met, yet this connection feels strangely ancient and profound. He hesitated, then whispered, "Do you know me?" Juji's heart stopped. The ultimate betrayal. True heartbreak is not a scream, but this silence. I am right here, yet you act like a stranger? Have you forgotten our nights sharing a bed and running for our lives? It was only days ago. Juji looked like a woman scorned by a villain. Ning Haiming's face twitched in pure confusion. He turned to the Valley Master. "Master Li, I am lost. Who is this 3-year-old child?" Juji's tears froze. What? I am only 3 years old? Total panic surged within her tiny frame. She stared at her small, chubby hands. No wonder I cannot speak. How did I shrink? I was a teenager moments ago. Is this another dream loop? The thought of dying again was exhausting. She dreaded the trials of this new nightmare. She never imagined this could actually be reality. She balled her tiny fists and began pounding on Ning Haiming, desperate to wake up. Her fragile heart was at its limit. Suddenly, the Valley Master cleared his throat, breaking her spiral. He handed a scroll to his disciple. "This GDK is now your junior sister. Read her mother's letter." The disciple doubted the toddler could understand, but he obeyed the master and began to read. "To my dear daughter, little 5. You fell into a deep coma, leaving me no other choice. I have entrusted you to Master Li of Yang Valley. He has accepted you as his own. He will heal you within these walls. As a disciple, you must be obedient and kind. Do not be naughty. Once you are fully recovered, your mother will come to bring you GK." Hearing this, Juji finally realized the truth. This was no dream. Her mother must be so worried. She yearned for her mother's embrace, her tiny body shaking with fresh, heavy sobs of longing. Her senior brother gently patted her head with compassion. "Do not cry, little junior sister." Suddenly, a heaven-shaking scream echoed directly into his mind, cutting his comfort short. The little girl's inner voice wailed in pure despair. "Oh heavens, I refuse to learn medicine!" The young man's eyes widened. What was that? Did I just hear her secret thoughts again? How bizarre. He tried to stay calm, gently coaxing her. "We also teach poison and dark sorcery." The master smacked his head, stopping the dark suggestion. "Silence. She has the mind of a baby. She cannot even speak yet, let alone choose her path. Let the child rest in peace. She's incapable of learning. Why bother?" He turned to Ning Huiming. "As for you, Master Mingi sent you to recover. Being older, you're her senior brother now. Any questions?" Ning Huiming nodded. "What illness do I have?" The master replied, "A mind issue." Juji snickered mockingly.
That answer was ripe for misunderstanding. Ning Huiming fell silent. He spoke with certainty. So that's why my memory is gone. Juji's eyes sparkled. Amnesia? How cliché! The master gasped. How did you know? Ning Huiming lifted Juji. He chuckled. She threw herself at me instantly. She knows me, but I don't remember. Juji pouted like a tsundere. I didn't beg. I wanted attention. The master was impressed. Such keen insight in one so young. Mingi was right. This kid's a genius. He'd have to be careful. He couldn't reveal Mingi ordered his memories sealed away. With someone this sharp, speaking too much was a gamble. He quickly made an excuse. I have business. Your senior brother will handle things. We'll talk later. He fled. Ning Huiming didn't rush. He settled Juji back down. The master's disciple cleared the mess. Yajing sighed, helpless. He turned, flashing a perfectly practiced, gentle-looking smile. I am Yajing. I usually stay within the main building, he introduced himself. Ning Huiming bowed, but instinct stopped him. I am Ningqi, he lied, name unbidden. The name just appeared. He realized his senior brother had no interest in him. Yajing was coaxing the toddler. Little sister, if you need anything, find me. Juji was in turmoil, her mind screaming. Wait, Yajing? The ultimate simp? The supporting male lead? The gentle master who's secretly obsessed with the heroine? He starts kind and frail, utterly devoted to the female lead from the start. Whenever the male lead breaks her, Yajing appears like a health pack to save her, but he suddenly turns dark. He's been secretly poisoning her medicine all along. He uses slow-acting toxins. He doesn't want her dead. He wants her to suffer. This twist was so shocking, I wanted to scream 1,000 cursed words. He had a grudge against the Jew family, but died before it was explained. Now I'm in this tiny body. How do I survive this twisted atmosphere? This plot is a death trap. They've just sent me here to die. Heavens, please. Until I know his grudge, don't let him discover I'm a Jew. Juji prayed desperately, unaware her internal thoughts had already betrayed her secret identity. Yajing was baffled. What's a simp? A grudge against the Jew family? Since when? His interest in her spiked. The suffocating silence made Juji tremble with pure terror. Her senior brother was terrifying. Kid, you're my only hope, she mentally pleaded. She reached out to Ning Huiming, begging to be carried away from this monster. Ning Huiming moved to help, but Yajing blocked his path with a smile. Go rest. I'll take care of our little sister, he said, his gaze deepening. Hearing her mental panic, Ning Huiming simply nodded and retreated, leaving her behind. Juji signaled frantically with her eyes, but her hero decisively abandoned her to fate. After everything we endured together, you leave me? She glared with deep, bitter resentment. Yeah, Juji, but the void remained. Why the north? Why did Master Mingi leave him here? He is no demon, Mingi had sworn. Years of salvation and trust followed. Master Mingi was his only shield. Without his constant protection from his father's wrath, he wouldn't have survived. Yet the void of his missing memories haunted him. His mind suddenly drifted to the mysterious girl from earlier. Since birth, he'd been a prisoner in a lonely tower, never seeing southern Yue. Yet, she recognized him instantly. Nearby, Ju Yuji also tossed and turned. Sleep was a luxury she couldn't afford during this long, restless night. A sudden fever, a strange dream, and now she was 3 years old, stranded miles from everything she knew. The weight of being alone crushed her. I miss my mom, she whispered, her heart aching with deep longing. She wanted to prove her courage, but in the dark, she felt like a helpless child lost in time. Why me? She cried, yearning for her mother's gentle touch before reality forced its way back into her mind. She was destined to be Ju Yuji, the fifth lady of Prince Pingan's manor, a role she never asked to play. By transmigrating, she had shattered the original fate. But now, she was the one living this girl's life. Would the female lead's tragic path become hers? Just as despair set in, her window suddenly creaked open. She looked up, startled. Hey kid, I'm busy having an existential crisis. Why are you breaking in right now? Ignoring her internal monologue, Ning Huiming leaped inside, his face a cold mask of determination and focus. Tell me how we met, he demanded. I need my memories. Act it out for me if you must. Seeing his desperation, she cleared her throat, ready to spin a tale of epic, heart-fluttering mutual salvation. You were the handsome hero fleeing a stepmother's cruelty, and I was the beautiful maiden abandoned by her father. Under a smoke-filled sky, one basket hid us both. From that moment, our fates were forever intertwined. Assassins nearly killed you, but I stood tall. With medicine and courage, I saved you from certain death. In one smooth motion, I stopped the bleeding. I was your guardian angel when all hope seemed lost. You came home with me to luxury and warm meals. We were happy until the tragic news arrived. Word came that your father passed. You left in tears to claim a massive, legendary fortune in secret. Ning Huiming stared at her, deeply skeptical. Was this little girl truly telling him the honest, absolute truth? Zhu Yuji laughed nervously, scratching her head. Okay, I added some flair, but you told me this yourself. I'm definitely not exaggerating the drama. He wanted to believe her, but his confusion only grew much stronger. His head throbbed as he tried to remember. Concubines as stepmothers? They had never even noticed him before. Why would they send killers? And his father was alive. Had his mind truly been damaged beyond repair? Lost in thought, he was startled when Zhu Yuji suddenly threw herself into his arms, breaking his spiral. The contact snapped him back to reality. She looked up and giggled. You've definitely grown even more handsome. A wave of heat rushed to his face. His cheeks burned a brilliant crimson under her sparkling gaze. He turned away, flustered. Have you no shame? You're still a girl. You shouldn't get so close. People will think you're immodest. Zhu Yuji was speechless. Dude, I'm literally only 3 years old. Then it hit her. He was a classic tsundere. His hidden, cute personality was finally showing its true colors. Ning Huiming didn't know the word, but he found this girl more agreeable with every passing second. Suddenly, the door burst open. Junior sister Yajing appeared, worried that her sister couldn't sleep at all. Seeing Ning Huiming, she grabbed a bamboo pole. You shameless pervert! Get away from my junior sister! He quickly dodged the strike, explaining he was only seeking the truth. Ask her yourself, he cried out. He turned around, only to find the main culprit was already fast asleep and snoring loudly. The two boys stopped their fight, stunned by her ability to fall asleep in a single instant. 3 years passed in Yang Valley, and Zhu Yuji had become a legendary figure to everyone there. Her reputation for mischief and brilliance grew, while Ning Huiming remained her most loyal, silent shadow. Every day brought new chaos, yet the bond between them only deepened as they grew up together. Despite the forgotten past, their destiny was already written in the stars of this new world. As the seasons changed, the once frail children became the rising stars of the entire valley. Villagers flee in terror. The poison girl is here! Run! Little Juji didn't understand why everyone treated her like a plague. To her, she was a saint. She chased the slowest one. Aunt Lee, wait! I have a cure for your aches! Aunt Lee shuddered, recalling Juji's previous miracles. She forced a polite, fearful smile. Little Ji, don't be silly. I'm perfectly healthy. Save your medicine for others. She knew Juji's enthusiasm was a death sentence for her old, fragile bones. She pointed at her dog. Fugi is the sick one. Treat him instead. Whether human or animal, Juji's passion for healing was unstoppable. She snatched him. Is Fugi fixed? I just learned a legendary pig castrating art. It's so fast. A painless snip, guaranteed. Aunt Lee's blood ran cold. This was a nightmare. She snatched her dog and bolted. He's too young to be fixed. Stop! Juji sighed deeply. I only want to help, but everyone avoids my kindness. My life is a tragic tale of being a misunderstood genius. So lonely. The storm is coming. I must find seventh brother. She headed to his room. She swung open Ning Huiming's door, but the room was eerily silent. Empty? She peeked behind the screen. A massive tub sat there, with a figure submerged. Ning was deep underwater, motionless as if he were a ghost in the dark. Terror struck Juji. She grabbed a fistful of his hair and yanked upward. Their eyes met instantly. This brat again, Ning thought, his scalp stinging painfully. Juji shrieked, pushing him back under the water in a clumsy, panicked mess. Ning thrashed beneath the surface, accidentally dragging the tiny girl into the tub. For a girl who couldn't swim, the bathtub became a watery death trap. Luckily, Ning's strong arms pulled her up. She sputtered and coughed violently. Water sprayed across Ning's face. His annoyance flared to a brand new level. "Juji, what are you doing?" she whimpered. "I was only trying to save you. You always faint during storms. I didn't want you to drown while bathing." The pure concern in her eyes instantly doused the flames of his anger. It was sweet, but he had to be firm. "Your saving almost killed me. Besides, you're the one who almost drowned in a tub, you tiny brat." Her heart sank. "I'm like a hard-working donkey being whipped by a master." Ning sighed, lifting her out easily. "I was trying to trigger my memories. Extreme methods might wake my past." Juji looked at him with pure confusion. "We live in a valley of healers. Why not just ask the master?" Ning gave a hollow smile. "If he wanted me to remember, he'd have helped. He kept the dark truth hidden. She was only 6, too young for secrets." He scruffed her collar like a stray kitten and started walking her out. "No! I'm sleeping here!" Juji fought back with every ounce of her strength. "Boys and girls must stay separate after age 7, Ning stated firmly. "But I'm only 6! Let me stay!" She unleashed her most adorable pout. The answer is still no. Ning remained a stone wall of cold indifference. Juji whispered sadly, "But the thunder is coming. You'll have nightmares without me." A wave of warmth filled Ning's heart. She was staying for his sake. For 3 long years, she had been his only light during every storm. Her presence was the only thing that kept the shadows of memory away. Looking at her small, determined face, his cold resolve finally began to melt. After endless practice, her movements became fluid. She finally stuck the landing, avoiding a clumsy faceplant. With a sigh of relief, she changed into her pajamas. But as night fell, a chilling nightmare gripped Ning Haiming. Haiming watched as generals clashed in his vision. "I refuse," one cried. "The 7th prince secured our peace." He spent years bridging the gap between our nations. Only 2 years have passed. Why shatter this fragile truce now? Before another word could be uttered, steel flashed. A blade silenced the general forever. The cold-blooded killer was none other than Haiming's own uncle. To him, peace was for the weak. "You are Northern Yin's elite warriors. Follow me and seize Southern Ua's vast lands. I've already sent my final vow to the imperial throne. I will conquer or perish on the battlefield." Watching from the shadows, Haiming's soul trembled with terror. He screamed for them to stop, knowing defeat was certain. But in this dream, his voice was a ghost. The vision shifted. He stood in the imperial hall, where the emperor awaited news of the disastrous war. A frantic messenger knelt. "Your Majesty, General Bailey has fled the front lines without striking a single blow." Chaos erupted as the emperor's rage flared. Then the vultures began to circle. The outsider clan, their hearts are disloyal. Northern Yin lies in ruins, and Bailey is a traitor. How will we answer the cries of our people? One official stepped forward with a venomous grin. "The 7th prince signed the treaty, and Bailey is his kin. Offer the 7th prince as a hostage to Southern Ua. Let his blood prove our sincerity for peace." Haiming watched the shameless snakes and let out a hollow laugh, discarded like trash by his own kin. The trail fell from the heavens. "Tell me, father, will you actually throw your own son to the wolves?" Despite a lifetime of neglect, a tiny spark of hope remained. Surely a father's heart wasn't made of stone. Even a beast protects its young. "Perhaps I matter," but the emperor's cold voice shattered that final illusion. The emperor agreed without a second thought. Haiming's heart plummeted into an icy abyss of despair and betrayal. A hostage's life was a sentence of death and eternal shame. Around him, the whispers of pity grew loud.
The emperor has forsaken his son, they sighed. Northern Yin broke the vow, yet the boy pays the price. A cruel fate for an innocent prince. Suddenly, a manic laugh tore through Haiming's lips, a sound of pure agony. What did I expect? He cried. I knew the ending to this tragedy before it even began. Why am I always the one discarded? Why? Dark shadows began to consume his very soul as he spiraled. In the waking world, Ju Yuji watched him thrash in agony. His face was twisted in a mask of torment. Wake up! She screamed, shaking him violently. Haiming's eyes snapped open, gasping for air as the nightmare broke. The lingering pain was too much. He coughed violently, staining the air with a spray of crimson blood. His inner demons ran deep. The hatred for his heartless father had festered into a lethal, burning obsession. Thunder always brought him nightmares, but she had never seen him suffer like this before. This was different. Terrified by the blood, she scrambled from the bed. She had to find her master before it was too late. She dragged the wheezing Valley Master into the room. You woke me for a little blood? He grumbled irritably. He's fine. Where's the supposed blood anyway? Ju Yuji leaned in, searching Haiming's face with frantic eyes. But the sheets were pristine. No stains, no crimson. Was she losing her mind? She saw it clearly. Are you a magician? How'd you clean that up so fast? Haiming simply looked at the master with tired eyes. I've been carrying a heavy burden. That blood was just stagnant energy finally leaving my chest. I feel lighter now, the master hummed. Good. If you're refreshed, then I'm going back to bed. Don't bother me again. He tried to flee. Haiming's intellect was too sharp for comfort. One wrong word and the master's secrets were toast. He turned to bolt, but a small hand lunged out. In an instant, his hair was caught in a vice-like grip. Master, you're not leaving until you check him! Ju Yuji's grip was ruthless, making the old man yelp. Haiming winced at the familiar sight. He remembered that same grip on his own scalp and felt a sympathetic sting. The Valley Master sighed, rubbing his sore head. He looked at Haiming with a gaze full of hidden weight. You've endured 3 long years in this valley. A few more days won't kill you. Destiny is arriving soon. Haiming caught the underlying message. 3 years of hiding was enough. The fire of ambition was finally reigniting. The master vanished into the night, leaving Haiming alone with his thoughts and his thirst for the future. Ning Huaiming knew the end was near. The Valley Master didn't even bother with excuses anymore. Ju Yuji watched them, failing to grasp their cryptic riddle. But she was easygoing and didn't linger. Carefree, she hopped onto the bed and asked Ninghua, "Was the nightmare that scary? Tell me!" Looking at the 6-year-old bundle of cuteness, Ning Huaiming lost his will to speak and turned. I forgot. It's nothing important, he muttered dismissively. Just go back to sleep already. Since he remained silent, Ju Yuji didn't push. Instead, she dived straight into his protective embrace. I'm worried. We're sleeping together. Despite his protests, he was physically overpowered by her tiny strength. Say that again. I dare you. Threatened by her, Ning Huaiming finally surrendered to his fate. Fine. I need you, okay? He acted oppressed, but a secret warmth bloomed in his heart. Ju Yuji smirked internally. This little punk thinks he's slick? He's clearly moved by my charms. Hearing her thoughts, he flipped over to hide his blushing face, trapping her under the heavy blanket. As she struggled for air, Ning Huaiming suddenly whispered, "Do you believe in the strings of fate?" She poked her head out, curious. Depends, like left eye twitching for wealth and right for disaster. If my left eye twitches, I'm a believer. If it's the right, well, that's just a muscle spasm. Her logic left him speechless. Then her inner voice chimed in again, mocking his dramatic CEO syndrome. No wonder he's so gloomy. Why believe in superstitions? He turns dark every time it thunders. He's got a classic brooding CEO complex, without the actual company. Ning Huaiming's eyebrow twitched. He didn't understand CEO talk. Ju Yuji just patted his shoulder with a comforting small hand. Don't panic. Even if you're just an NPC, I won't leave you. You're sick, and I have... Before she could finish her
cure, he ruthlessly pushed her away. I'm not the sick one here, Ju Yuji huffed, annoyed. How did he predict that? She grabbed him again, determined to help. Don't avoid treatment. My secret medicine specializes in curing your dark, brooding transformations. Even a widow would find love again after one sip. There might be some side effects, though. Every medicine is a bit poisonous, right? Hearing this, Ning Huaiming let out a skeptical laugh. Are you sure it's only a little? He vividly remembered the villager who took her toothache cure. That poor man had diarrhea for 3 whole days. When he complained, she offered more medicine. She claimed one more dose would end his toothache forever. And she wasn't technically lying. Another dose would have sent him straight to his next life. He rejected her without a thought. No, thank you. To those who know you, it's medicine. To others, it's a murder attempt. Go to sleep. He closed his eyes, ending the debate. Ju Yuji pouted, her pride wounded. How could such a warm mouth say such cold words? Her brave heart felt a sting. She rolled over and pulled the covers tight. Fine. I'm going to sleep then. 30 minutes later, a sleeping Ju Yuji naturally drifted closer, wrapping her arms around him. The sudden warmth against his back woke the dozing Ning Huaiming. He sighed and moved her. He watched her peaceful face, lifting her bangs gently. She didn't stir at all. Confident she was out, he threw on a robe and prepared to slip into the night. At the door, the sleeping Ju Yuji opened her eyes and laughed triumphantly in her mind. The mantis hunts the cicada, but the oriole is behind. I knew you were hiding something. You can trick others with your act, but my sharp eyes see everything. She hopped out. Putting on a disguise, she entered tracking mode, muttering about her own genius skills. She followed him flawlessly through the shadows. Soon, the path became chillingly familiar. This was the Forbidden Zone, the one her senior brother had strictly banned them from entering. This feels exactly like a horror movie where the lead ignores the warnings and dies. Survival rules for being reborn in a book. Rule number 1. Don't pick up strange things. Rule number 2, don't go where you're told not to. But curiosity was taking over. Forbidden places lead to ruin. Yuji chose survival and tried to slip away. A cold voice froze her blood. Why stop now? He whispered with a dark smirk. Terror gripped her heart. She forgot this monster could literally teleport. She abandoned her pride immediately. I surrender. I'm just a lowly extra. How did you spot me? My stealth was legendary, she cried in disbelief. Heiming laughed. Sleeping beauties don't have twitching eyes, you know. Her face burned with shame. He'd watched her pathetic acting from the start. Fine, keep your secrets. I'm leaving. She tried to bolt into the night. Suddenly, she was hoisted into the air. He grabbed her like a stray kitten. Resistance was futile against his overwhelming strength. She was totally trapped. Let me go! I refuse to be part of this plot, she wailed. He leaned in, his smile hauntingly kind. Then, should I kill you instead? Yuji froze. His aura turned wicked. Was he actually the hidden villain? To survive the Forbidden Zone, she had to play the part of a loyal sister. Since my dear brother insists, I'll go, she chirped with a fake smile. But he wasn't fooled. You lead the way, he commanded, dropping her. Curse him! He predicted her every move like a master strategist. Plan B! She collapsed onto the grass, throwing a full-blown tantrum. He ignored her drama completely. Curious, she peeked to see his next move. He was reaching into his robes. A glint of cold steel caught the moonlight. He's pulling a knife! Wait! I love exploring! Death is my middle name! She scrambled up, leading the charge with a terrified, forced grin. Heiming blinked in confusion. One moment a brat, the next a brave explorer? He was going to bribe her with a jade pendant, but she'd already caved. He reached out and took her small hand. A strange warmth filled his chest. He misinterpreted her shaking as worry for him. How surprisingly sweet. Hand in hand, they ventured deeper. But Yuji's mind was racing with dread. Is he taking me to the woods to bury the evidence? Her heart hammered. Seeing her tremble, he sighed. Stop thinking nonsense, he murmured softly. I won't hurt you. Now close your eyes. Her panic only surged higher.
Close my eyes so you can strike me down unseen?
Never, he sighed at her wild imagination. If I wanted you dead, you'd be gone. She realized he was right. Reluctantly, she let her eyelids flutter shut. But she peeked instantly. Promise, no attacking. I'm too young to die.
Haiming gave a gentle, reassuring smile.
I give you my word, little sister. He pulled a silken sachet from his robes. It was time for the surprise.
Knowing her slippery nature, he used the ribbon to blindfold her properly. This is an insult to my integrity, she huffed, feeling the soft fabric.
Do you even have integrity? He countered. Yuji instantly lost her fire. Fair point. Proceed with the insult. She waited in the silent darkness.
He scattered a shimmering powder into the air, letting it drift like stardust.
Open them, she grumbled. All that mystery for a 5-second trick?
But as the blindfold fell, her breath caught. 1,000 emerald stars appeared. Fireflies danced in a dreamlike swirl. It was a legendary, romantic moment. Her fear melted away, replaced by pure, heart-fluttering joy. This was magic. Gazing up at Ning Huaiming, her eyes sparkled with wonder. How? She whispered. He gave a tender smile. Did you forget? Today marks your special day. He revealed a shimmering, cloud-shaped hairpin. Ju Yuji's breath hitched in her throat. Stunned, she realized he'd planned everything, the atmosphere and a gift. Is this truly for me? She stammered. He gently took her hand, pressing the ornament into her palm. Happy birthday. May your future be bright. Warmth flooded her soul. She clutched the treasure tightly. Thank you, seventh brother. I absolutely adore it. But how did you call these fireflies? He settled onto the grass, his voice calm. I stumbled upon a secret. An old scroll mentioned a powder that draws them. Since our valley overflows with rare herbs, I experimented. You should learn from this. Use your skills to create beauty, not just things that cause trouble. Remembering how the villagers feared her treatments, Juji pouted. Even in this romantic moment, he had to nag. He chuckled at her expression, a rare, sincere light in his eyes. Let's drop the lecture for now. Actually, I learned this trick from you. Juji blinked, bewildered. He smirked. Remember your own words? A true surprise requires a build-up. You must first create tension, then deliver the joy. The bigger the drop, the greater the delight. Suddenly, memories of that fateful day flooded back. Her own heart sank in realization. Last year, just before Ning Huaiming's birthday, she'd been so excited. She grabbed her giant kite to find him. She wanted to share the fun with her seventh brother, but when she entered his private quarters, he was gone. As she turned to leave, a mysterious, haunting orchid fragrance caught her attention. It led her towards something hidden. There stood an elegant, lacquered box. Curiosity piqued, she hesitated for only a second before reaching out. Lifting the lid, she found a simple cloth doll nestled inside. She was baffled. Suddenly, a cold hand gripped her. She looked up to find him looming over her, eyes icy with fury. Who gave you permission to touch this? Terrified, Juji dropped to her knees, offering the box back with trembling hands. I'm so sorry, I was wrong. I only wanted to fly kites with you, but I should have respected your privacy. Please, forgive my intrusion. Seeing her sincere remorse, the fire in his eyes dimmed into a heavy sigh. His irritation turned into weariness. He reclaimed the box, his voice flat. Just leave now. But Juji wasn't ready to let the matter go yet. She followed him, tugging his sleeve persistently. Wait, where did that doll come from? Do you realize that the doll... That is none of your business, he roared, his voice cracking with raw emotion. The sudden outburst was deafening. Startled by his intensity, she lost her footing. She stumbled backward, crashing hard onto the cold floor. The sound of her fall snapped him back to reality. Guilt instantly replaced his rage. He'd hurt her. Are you okay? He reached out to help, but the damage was done. Juji's own temper began to flare. She scrambled up, fuming. Fine, keep your secrets, but did you have to shove me? Am I that worthless? Grabbing her broken kite, she stormed out. tears of frustration stinging her eyes. He could hear her raging thoughts. My senior brother worked so hard on this, and now it's ruined. Her silent grief echoed in the room. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't mean to. Her anger wavered slightly, but the danger still weighed on her. That doll is dangerous, she warned. That orchid scent, it's a trap. Prolonged exposure will put you into a coma. I tried to help, but I guess no good deed goes unpunished today. She turned her back on him. He froze, then lunged forward, grabbing her shoulders. What did you say? Poison? Are you absolutely certain? She nodded grimly. His world seemed to crumble. So that's how it is. It was all a lie. Juji watched his heartbroken expression, her own anger vanishing. What's wrong? Why do you look so shattered? Are you okay? She asked softly. But his walls slammed shut again. Leave it. This doesn't involve you. Her fury returned tenfold. What is wrong with you? 1 second you're apologetic, the next you're a block of ice. I actually worried about you, but you just keep pushing me away. I have feelings too, you know. Fine. If I ever speak to you again, I'm a dog. Her senior brother watched the explosion in shock. What happened to my sweet junior sister? He knew she and seventh brother were usually inseparable. Why was she this furious? Juji, pushed past her limit by his hot and cold attitude, reached a breaking point. Senior brother, you're my witness. From this day forward, Ningche and I are finished.